It's Thursday.
Oh, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday night. You ain't got
To do? You're going to listen to the Double Drop Down show.
That's right. Hey, welcome to the show. We got Stealth Mouse with only 2 emojis. Try how many?
10. Nightbot allows up to 10 emojis now, Stealth Mouse. So 11, though, over the line. We put a cap on it.
We had to take Nightbot out and say, hey, get a performance review.
You know what's funny, actually, also, too, is I don't know what exactly it does, but you can add people who are like, so it'll be like, hey, here's people who are typically in the chat, and it gives them more leeway. So I added everyone who I know is typically in the chat. So
love it.
So you all should be able to emote with your heart's desires.
Well, let's give that a try. Hey, Higgs.
He Higgs here.
Man, it is so fun to have the show. Every single time I say that, and I'm going to say it every time because it is good.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of fun stuff. Look at all those little dancing dinosaurs. That's perfect. We got it. There's been a lot going on, as there always is.
Yep.
And the boredom one from last time really kind of sunk in. I was really trying to find myself into boredom moments and just like be in my head to think about thinking. And I was going to ask you, Ryan, do you ever get to those moments, or are there moments where you think about thinking that you are naturally finding still?
Like 100%. I feel like after doing the research and talking with you about it, there are just moments in my life where I would naturally be like, oop, I'm going to listen to the podcast, right? Or like, oh, I'm going to listen to my book on tape while I do the dishes. And I would say, like, I'm trying to back away from that a little bit and say, like, yep, it would be great to finish up my book, but like, I'll do that tonight or whatever. And for right now, I'm going to do 20 minutes of being bored and, folding laundry and not have a show on. And it's good. I don't know if I have any I had some kind of aha moment or some sort of tangible thing, but it does feel good afterwards where you're just like, yeah, I sat with my thoughts and I thought about things and yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Kind of just like levels out, maybe is the thought. I guess I was more mindful of the quiet moments. There's been a few times too where, and Stealth Mouse, sorry about this, is that, I'll put my phone off to the side for a second and I just step away from it and not feel like it's always right there. I still feel this pull, like, oh, where's my phone? Like somebody could have said a thing. But I've been also really enjoying it in my runs more. And just like, because I do the 5Ks weekly, and I'm just like so unplugged out of my head. I realize I'm just like floating through this like 3 miles. So I was really appreciative of it.
What are you running a 5K in nowadays? Like how long are you getting with?
Guess what my 5K time is?
30 minutes. I don't even know.
Good guess. 29 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wow, nice.
So I broke the 30 barrier.
Great job. You've been getting back into it.
It was thank you. My PR is 24 minutes. So I got to cut off 6 minutes somehow, but it's a tough run, but it's been great. And then my son was doing some track yesterday, which was really fun, and he got second place. He was like first place all the way to the last leg, and this guy like zoomed past him but he was like really excited and he like ran his best PR. But what had happened is this guy was like on his butt and he was like running really fast and then he kind of passed him. And so on the last leg of my 5K, it was just like an hour or two before my son had run and then I went running. Okay. There's a guy on my butt and I was like, no, I must run at sprinting speeds. And I beat him.
Hey, and then you got your personal, what is PR? Personal
record.
I've always heard PBs, personal bests.
Ooh.
People have PBs and racing, like stock car racing.
It's kind of funny because on Strava, because I post to Strava, is they have these different routes where people normally do their runs or do their whatevers, and you can get like these segments. And I got this one recently that I was like the top segment and I was like the best record streak, and I had to hold it for a week. And it's like the person that ran the fastest on a stretch, and I realized why is because I took this like extra little turn that maybe not as many people take, and I created this route.
Nice.
And
so you created a separate route that not a lot of people do, and so then you had the best time. Nice.
Because they added to the Riverwalk. Did you know this? Oh, you got to check it out. So
I got to go down to the river.
They created a whole new section in a whole new boathouse, and
Cool.
it's like it's pretty amazing.
Dang,
So,
I got to check it out. All right.
Anyways, let's stretch out and get ready for the show because we got so much to talk about.
So many news things happened. We got an amazing main topic tonight. Well, I'm going to tease the main topic a little bit.
Go for it.
So, we've been talking about it's an AI topic again this week, but it's really about sort of two kind of big articles that came out, two sort of news events that happened. One of them was a political science professor put out an article that made a lot of waves.
What was this guy's name again?
Andy something. Now I can't
right.
remember. Andy
Hall,
I think.
That's the name.
Yeah, Stanford political science teacher, professor, and so he put out a thing about basically how we could go about creating political superintelligence, and it came right before OpenAI posted a whole big thing about their recommendations for kind of the future of what does our economy look like. So we're going to talk about both those things. We're also going to put it into our normal thing of the past and the present and the future, and just talk about how AI and government could be looking in the future.
Could. Is the thing.
For sure.
I had to take the regular guy's path, the regular person's path on this because my political acumen is probably not as keen. And I'm not saying that like you're crazy
right.
like anchor in that, but I think that you've said things in the past. I'm like, man, Ryan knows his stuff. And so I appreciate that. He's challenging me, pushed me. I had to kind of dive into this a little bit more. But I do want to take a little side note before we jump into the articles.
Okay.
And actually to the questions for humans.
Yeah.
Is the damn accessibility tools sucked on my Android because I wanted just to read a Google Doc so I could go and do some other thing and listen to the article you told me.
I see.
And I just could not, like, it would kind of do it, and then it would and it would stop, and then it was like, there's no text here. And I was so mad. So I just wanted to say that sucked.
I will say you are 100% right, because there are plenty of times on my phone where I'll get an article and I'm like, yeah, but I'm driving, or I'm headed out the door. Can you just read me the rest of this article or from here? And you're right. It works half of the time in like the best circumstances. So and you should be able, it's like they should focus on that, because I mean, that is only, sure, it's convenient for me, but it's like that's accessibility stuff.
So here's what I did. So I was like, go to PDF. Maybe I could do it better on a PDF. It opens up, and I don't want to. So Adobe has this sweet thing. It was like, make into a podcast. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I did that, and they're like, okay, you have to pay. All right, okay, maybe not. So then it was like, read aloud, and I hit it, and it was like amazing. It was reading aloud. I was like, this is perfect. And I put it down. I started doing my thing, and then like midway through it stopped, and I was like, what? And then it had a big ad. It was like, you've ran out of your trial of the good voice.
Man.
Here, do you like
Robot
go back
voice.
to the robot voice? I was like, yes, give me
Fine.
that robot voice. But to their credit, it read the whole damn
At
thing.
least,
So
yeah.
good on Adobe on that one.
Nice. Adobe Acrobat advertising. Have you seen all the Adobe Acrobat advertising lately?
Oh, I have not.
They're like touting up all its AI stuff, and that it's making podcasts, and it's all, collaborative workspaces. And I was like, you're Acrobat. I don't know. It's hard to get out of my head thinking about that as anything but a thing that I open up PDFs with.
It's a huge deal. Ryan, do we have questions for humans today?
We do. We have
Hell yeah.
a question for human. I got to look up my questions for human, actually.
I kind of want to, let's see here, because we used to show it on this other camera, right?
Well, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So let's make sure we have we done this one before?
Yes, we have.
Have we?
We've done this one, huh?
I don't think so.
Chat? Yeah. What physical activity or sport could you defeat pretty much anyone at? Ryan, you said, I don't remember what you said.
Well, let's not do that one then.
I do remember. We had to
what about that one?
We had to put it down there. What animal would you choose as a sidekick, and why? I think even if we've done it, it's still fun to do this.
Still
one.
fun.
So
Still fun.
I'm just gonna go to this camera because it's fun.
What animal would you choose as a sidekick, and why? I feel like there's different ways to go about this for a sidekick. You're either like, I feel like it would have to be an animal that you get along with, right? Because it's around you all the time. Or do you go like a crazy, protection animal?
Is this just saying like, which animal do you choose for a pet? Or like when they say sidekick, what does that mean?
To me, it's sort of it sort of feels like almost like a superhero thing, right?
Okay.
It's like you have an animal, but it's not going to maul you to death, right?
Okay.
Like maybe you're not speaking to it, and it's not speaking to you necessarily, but you're like, it can live in the house, it can hang out with you and go with you places. And so if it was a eagle, right, then
your
that would be
choice?
fine. No, I would.
Does the sidekick animal have the ability to speak?
I'm
That
saying
is the
no.
question.
I'm saying no, but like you and it can like understand you.
Okay.
So if you're like, because the sidekick, you have to be able to like direct it. It can't just be a wild animal that's running around and attacking things and pooping everywhere.
All right, fair.
So it's got to be.
So it's like Eagly, right?
Eagly, exactly. That's what I was thinking. That was my
All right.
frame of reference.
So you can somehow communicate, it just by some sort of almost telepathic, but it's not really talking to it, but you kind of know each other. You have a vibe together.
Yeah.
This is a great one. Man, I mean, does it have to be still? Can it be an extinct animal?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
So now you're going Velociraptor or something?
I was thinking like pterodactyl. I need something that I can be like, I need out of here quick, and it comes and grabs me and
nice.
it flies away.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
Oh.
It'd have like its own terraria, that it would live in.
We got an alien.
Oh, nice. A little Rocky.
That's great. If you don't know what that is, don't spoil for anybody. I mean, they kind of spoiled it in the trailer, but yeah, it could be Rocky. That'd be a good one. Yeah, kind of like that vibe. I think I would get like, as long as it didn't like tear me up with its talons, I think a pterodactyl would be sweet.
I was also maybe thinking sort of some kind of hawk or something like that would be cool. But I don't love horses, but man, a sidekick horse that like knew what it was doing, and like you and it, like you could talk with it and do things and ride it around, and it was sort of like a helper in that way. I feel like that would be pretty.
All right, I'm changing mine. Pegasus.
Yeah.
double up on that.
I'm going House of Targaryen dragon.
I just think that that's an interesting question. Now I'm trying to think of like what I would be doing with my sidekick. I'd be like, yes, we need to go get some new LaCroix.
Yeah, exactly. Fly me down to the King Supers.
Take me to Supers, please. Can you please get your Pegasus off the roof? Shut up.
It's scaring customers again, sir. Mike Azul said he chooses a sloth. I was also thinking like a capybara might be kind of neat.
What would you do? What would your sloth do? Was it
straight up like he would be
backpack?
like on your backpack, right? And he'd be hanging out and doing stuff there, and then you'd use him to like slide down zip lines.
You're burning its terrible hands.
You don't know it because it has those claws.
Oh, it does have claws.
It does have claws.
All right. Remember Lalo?
Yeah.
Lalo's favorite animal is a sloth.
Nice.
So
that's
if he was
good.
watching the show right now, he would love the sloth. I'm gonna cut this clip and send it to you, Lalo.
Do you have a question for Human, Adam, that you have ready to go, or would you like to do? Or would you like me
absolutely
to do
and I put it at the top of my list.
All right.
And I said, what's something that feels like a core memory, even though it wasn't deep?
Like from when you're like much younger.
Any core memory that you have in your head that wasn't deep.
Not deep, but like always there.
Like it's in your head and you're like, why is this a core memory that comes up throughout my life?
Huh.
And I do have one.
Okay,
I do.
yeah,
I had a little bit of time to think about it.
Okay.
And I may have mentioned it in the show, but I never said it was like a core memory. And it's the stupidest core memory that you could ever have.
Yeah, well, that's the point of this, right?
I must have been in 7th grade. And I distinctly remember being in a very busy hallway and then falling backwards and these people being like, oh. And I'm like going back. And that was the only core. It was like a good 1 second of that happening. And this one girl, just like the idea of being like, oh, he's falling back. And it comes up. It's like, I think maybe why it's a core memory is embarrassment or some sort of
like there was like
moment.
Emotion wrapped up in it for sure. I could see that.
And I remember being absolutely petrified that I just fell in front of everyone in the hallway, and so it's become a core memory.
I something along those lines. I had a different one picked out, but the one that was sort of like yours is I remember in elementary school, I was in band class or something like that, and I went and I stood up really fast, and you know how like it can sort of like flood your head, and yeah, I feel like as a older person, as an adult, like when you start feeling like that, you're like, whoa, I gotta sit down, right?
Yeah.
Like, but as a kid, I didn't know that was happening. I was sort of like, what is happening? And then I just remember being out, like, and I had this, I think I was out for like 5 seconds or something like that. I sort of passed out in the middle of class. And I distinctly remember like the dream that I was having in that 5 seconds. And it was of like an aerial view of a massive highway system with tons of little cars going everywhere and like running into each other and crashing over the top of each other. And that was like what I thought of in that 5 seconds where my brain didn't have enough oxygen. And then I remember coming up out of it and looking up, and like it's like a cartoon, like the whole ring of all the classmates all around you in a circle with the teacher standing in the middle of it, like looking over, and everyone just like the most freaked out faces in the entire world looking down over the top of me, and my brain not even being able to like process what had just happened. That I was like, I went from standing to this crazy dream, and now I'm on the floor looking up at people. Like I could not, it was like maybe 9 years old or something like that. But
I absolutely love that. And it like similarities of like the circle of people. I have one face and a circle of like blurred faces that happened. And man, it's crazy that those moments, and clearly you were okay. They were probably like, oh my God, this kid just died.
Totally. And I had to, like, somebody had to help me to the office, and I was like, I'm fine, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, we got one in the chat.
First
Horror show.
Ooh.
We got to know the name of it, or what's the experience. You got to let us know if there was some detail on that one. But
nice.
This this was good. Did you?
I had one. You know, like so last time I had a very deep one. You know, but I heard something on a podcast the other day, and I was like, that's a great one. As a male, as a human male, usually everyone has one of these stories. What was the worst time you got hit in the nuts?
Ooh.
Like the worst time that you ever just doubled over, like just kicked in the nads, right? Just coin purse, just the most hurting that it's been in your entire life.
Those are impactful moments. Those are also core memories in certain cases. So.
Oh, the Crypt Creeper was the first horror show. I love that.
That was what was it? Was it called the Tales from the Crypt?
Tales from the Crypt. I loved that
creepy.
guy. That puppet.
Yeah.
Or whatever that was.
Yeah,
That was great.
No, it was a real man.
It's a real.
It's a real decrepit dead Crypt Keeper. Come on, Ryan. We all know this.
Yeah, everybody knows that. They propped him up there and.
Oh yeah, your mom was mad because
they never called her.
He was all good.
It was fine. I was probably telling them that I was fine.
I'm all good. I just tripped. It was a thing. All right. So do you have one?
I have the time when I have been most injured in the old Tic Tacs.
Let's hear it.
So I was like 12 years old, and I was at a pizza parlor. And what there was a basketball hoop game, right?
Okay.
And so you put in a quarter and you get to shoot a few hoops, right? And it had at like what is my waist-ish level, or slightly higher, like a big bar, right? Which makes sense. And I had leaned over to get, like, probably being a jerk and trying to like get a ball out from where, you know, not pay for it and lean over like that. And I remember I got one, and then I just sort of slid myself with all of my weight back over the bar. And crushed myself between the bar and my weight. And I remember as it was happening, like, this is a core memory of this. As it was happening, I was like, oh no, what is happening? This is happening. And then I came back, and I don't know how hard you've ever been kicked in the nuts, Adam, but like, you take one to the chicken nuggets like that. The moment before it starts hurting, I feel like you have nothing. It's like your brain. I don't know if it takes a long time for the thing.
Yeah,
and I remember being like, oh my God, that was all. I think I'm fine. And then like 3 seconds went by and it hit me and I just doubled over in front of the thing. I didn't throw up, but I just remember being like, oh my God, like it completely incapacitated me at this stupid Pizza Hut or whatever.
Did people even know?
I don't think so. I think, my parents are off, eating pizza or whatever. And I just remember like just being on the floor next to this basketball machine for a while.
I don't even know if I could that was a well-told story, I must say. But I do have one memory because I don't think there was one standout core memory of that. I've been very mindful of trying to protect that area. But sure. I used to think I was a skateboarder, and I'm going to say think I was a skateboarder.
Sure. Well, you were. It's like you don't have to be a professional skateboarder to consider yourself a skateboarder.
Yeah. So, the worst one's when you're toddler's son.
Yeah.
Oh, accidentally, and you can't swear because that is another. I love that call out, Mike Gasol, because that's what happens when you're a parent. You just know it's gonna happen. It's gonna be the one time, and you want to you want to Bart Simpson there him.
Yeah. Why you little?
Yeah. But no, so I was at the skate park, and I've had stupid skate. I say should have been because I could barely kickflip, I could barely ollie, I could barely do any of that stuff. And like one story was one time I was like I had a skateboard and it was right by this road and I accidentally slipped and shot it into traffic and got run over.
Oh man!
And I was like, I think maybe you were. I think
I might have been there.
And
for that.
but. So I have all these stupid stories of like falling off skateboards. And like one of the ones is I thought I was going to be really cool. And I think you know where this is going is I tried to flip the skateboard up, just bam, straight in there. Like all these people looking, and I was like trying to, and I'm in my big old Jenkos trying to look all cool. And I looked absolutely bad.
Nice thing about Jinko's low crotch, so it had a lot of gene to get through.
It turned in like that perfect skateboard, just like whoosh, right there, nice. Split them in half.
Nice, right in the old cojones.
Yeah, that's right. I
right
love
the bollocks.
I love all your
right in the huevos, right in the gonads.
You have a lot of them there.
The bits and pieces, right?
Mistletoe. I made that one up myself.
Right in the mistletoe. That's a good one because it does have berries, so I like it. No, I was like, when I write this question out, I got to put a bunch of synonyms for nuts in there and get them into the question. So appreciate you humoring me on that one.
All right. All right, we ready for?
Let's do it.
All right, it's time. It is time for
it.
From the Hangout, it's the news with Adam and Ryan.
Yeah, the news.
Gotta look at the news.
Yeah, the news has been has been in our favor for this particular topic that we were doing, but there was also lots of just like fun, interesting sort of non-AI news, the tech news and creativity news that we found this week, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And one thing I want to say is that we talk a lot about AI.
Yeah.
Like we've been a lot, but you know what I've also appreciated? That we've been trying to pull ourselves away from AI. Like we've had some really good topics that have like an AI comment. I think there was one show we may have not even said AI at all in the main kind of.
I doubt it.
Probably. But very close. Like it wasn't centralized that we're going to have some AI conversation tonight, but we're trying to like not go down the damn rabbit hole like we always do.
Totally.
Interesting ones. Who has Gmail out there?
Yeah. I thought this was interesting. It had been rumored for a long time, and I don't know why we haven't been able to do this ever before, but you can now change your Gmail account, and you can go in, you can change the name. It sort of forwards your old stuff to there, but now you can go in and keep that same one that you made 15 years ago and change the name of it. So do you, I guess I'll just ask you, do you have any that you would like to change, or did you change any because of this?
I feel like it's the opposite. So one of the things is we have a couple accounts for double drop down, and I wish we would have had the actual but it isn't. It's what it is.
Yeah.
open new Gmail accounts.
You just open
I
new
had,
ones?
I think the last count was I had legitly 37 of them.
Oh man. Well, that's like I definitely have on my phone because it's all my work and then other works and other ones, and I have the kids ones that I look after, and I mean
I just wonder, like, to change it. I guess there. I've seen some colleagues that had, that college one that has something terrible and like an innuendo in there or something that you would really want to change.
You're just like Ryan Higley, my Ryan Higley 420 account, not 69 420 Ryan Higley.
BB Nutcracker.
I love it.
I mean, I feel like there's a few that I could do that, but okay. So what's the details behind this?
I mean, it's
you can test it, so you can change it.
Yeah.
You retain the original one, is my understanding. Does that other original one go away?
No, it just basically becomes the sort of. I mean, you can still send or I don't know if you can still send from it, but anything that you get from that just automatically gets added to the same account. So it's not like it goes away necessarily, and no one else can get it. So that's
I thought you gave Mike Azul some Nightbot privileges.
What?
Mike Azul just got messed up. Can we give him this? I want to give it to him.
I
see.
Blocked?
Good job, Nightbot. Good job, sir.
Not posting links.
No. You do not want to see what he just tried to put on the stream. That would have been very detrimental
to our reputation, sir.
Nightbot was right this time. Yes,
Stephen Mike calls it out himself.
I kind of want that now. That would be pretty. Oh God, that is so bad. But I do like it. Good call out.
I will say I did change my old email address that I had that had sort of a weird. It was like my name plus a weird like moniker at the end. So I changed, so I added studio to the end of my name. So I was like, all right, that'll work.
So Docs Ryan, he knows his email.
Docs Ryan. Well, that's fine. Sure, send me emails. I don't know. I probably won't read them.
Yeah, it's like how many emails do you already send to the trash can? Exactly. It's already a thing.
99.9% of them.
I think it's interesting. It's like it's just a fun little thing to talk about. It's tech news because it's like they haven't done it. I was almost thinking if you could change your YouTube username, which it doesn't necessarily. This is not that. It's changing the email itself. So did
you purchase or did you sign up your kids for a Gmail account when they were young before and do they have like
I did
like nice versions of their name or something?
They have
like
first
that?
name, last name
and
at Gmail.
Wow, that's great. I could not find first name, last name of my kids on Gmail. Like
my last name's a little unique though.
That's true.
But I didn't even get my own damn name.
Oh, you couldn't get your name?
I didn't. But he's like a pro basketball player for the Hungary like basketball team. So
I know there's like a Texas like football player that has my name and must have gotten it. Sucks.
I know. It sucks. It's like, but then I was like, what do I want? Let me do this one. And then I hated it. It was too long. And then I did another one, and I was like, all right, this is the one I'm gonna roll with. And then whatever.
Email.
You know what I want to do is maybe we can just get a double drop down account, and we'll just go full on double drop down emails and transition to that whole URL, and that we can get whatever the hell we want.
I do sign up for a ton of weird AI bullshit with our double drop down one because I'm like, who cares? That just goes into that.
Yeah, until they try to dox us or something happens, but whatever.
Sure, who cares?
All right, next one. This one's creepy, not AI related.
No.
And we've heard about this before, but like how does this even legal? Ready? Brainless human clones. All right,
this is sci-fi.
Wasn't
for sure.
Wasn't there a movie made
the
about
island.
This? The Island.
The Island with
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor.
Was it?
Yes, and the Marvel girl. She was Black Widow. Who's Black Widow?
Yeah, that girl.
God, it's killing me. She punches things. She's pretty. I don't know.
Yeah, Black Widow.
Whatever, Black Widow. Anyway, her in like her
Scarlett
20s.
Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, there it is. Her in like her 20s. Anyway, that was different because they had brains and they had to sort of keep them there. And, you know, if I remember correctly, that movie had them like they thought the apocalypse had happened and they were being protected on an island. And then they would sort of win a lottery to go out and do it. And that was really them getting killed and being harvested for parts. Which, you know, this is slightly more ethical than that because they're supposedly not supposed to have brains, right? Is that the idea?
It is, and, you know, I just got to call out that we got a pinned chat. Brainless human clones. There's got to be a political joke in there. Thank you, Mike Azul. Right on.
You already got one strike, Mike Azul, so don't get...
Nightbot allowed it, all right? It's all good. As long as the Nightbot lets it through. And it's on point for the show. So here we are. So here's the thing. This biotech they're proposing, hey, let's do these full body replacements. We'll extend life. This is great. We're just going to grow the bodies. No brains. Don't worry about that portion of it. Oh, man. This feels like so many terrible things of what you like.
I'll be honest. I feel like humanity would totally do this. Like if it was out of the way in some kind of warehouse that no one is looking at, like how much beef are you eating, Adam Pocious? Would you like to see how that is also created and added to you? I feel like it's not that hard a thing.
I do not want a clone, but I will eat my clone as much as I possibly can.
Yeah,
my tasty, delicious clone.
You're like, when I get the new liver, can I also just get a few steaks cut out of that guy? While we're at it.
Oh, well, here's the deal. We're not going to get into politics. Why is this so political today?
This is a politically charged episode.
Like, think about the polarization with some of the politics on some of these other issues that are out there. Let's not to say abortion. And we're now saying, oh yeah, let's just grow a brainless human. But you kind of have to have a spinal cord or something to hold it together.
Yeah, and then like how is like the muscles? I imagine a horror show of some kind of like lab that is growing things off of, you know, like hanging vats of you know, people in there. Like it wouldn't have muscles or anything because I imagine from what I'm understanding of this is mostly you're going for organs. Right at some point. And so like what do you think? Say it wasn't a whole body, say it wasn't a whole like torso full of organs. If they were just growing a liver for you, would you be necessarily against that?
Just like a liver?
Yeah, like say your liver is failing and they're like, all right, well, we sort of knew that Adam was like this heavy alcoholic, and so we knew that he was probably going to need a new liver, and so they spent the last 10 years growing you a liver in a thing, and then when your liver goes out, it's all like meant for you and your DNA, and now you have liver. Is the liver like enough of a person? Like, is it just the creepiness factor of having a torso full of stuff? Or is it actually like you would be, I don't know, against sort of the morality of it in general?
I feel like, you know, there's a line here and it's like, wait, when it's encased in a human form, that's where it gets crazy.
Okay.
Have you watched Altered Carbon?
The
series?
No.
You should watch Altered Carbon, and it's interesting.
And tell me your mind wouldn't be changed, right?
I don't know if it would be, but I just feel like it would be capitalized. The rich would live forever. The poor would be poor.
Yeah,
so I'll give you one anecdote: is that in Altered Carbon, they figure a way to essentially like download your consciousness onto like a thing a disc that fits into your neck, and so then the bodies aren't called bodies; they're called sleeves, and so. You're like this little girl gets hit by a car, and because
yoink, just take her little disc out, put it in a new little girl.
And guess what they don't do, because they don't have they're a poor family, is you get whatever sleeves there. So yeah, you get the 40-year-old crack meth guy that gets shoved into there, and your little girl is crying, and it's a meth head looking kind of sleeve, and they show that. And then, of course, the rich people have a whole factory of a bazillion of them, and they can always like pull it, and they swap into it. It's a whole thing. You should watch it. It's really good.
Man.
Season 1 is good. Season 2, but
Season 1. All right, nice.
All right, we're getting a little off track here, but it's seriously brainless human clones. It's probably already happening.
It's probably, yeah. It's why it's, why the ultra rich are living, longer than we are, for sure.
All right, you got to tell us about this one, Ryan. I don't know anything about it.
This was a fun one. It's sort of a creativity one. What they're doing is this sort of like artist / scientist guy is what he is interested in is sort of this moment. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Adam. There's a moment between sleeping and wakefulness. So like, so you're awake, and then you're sort of falling asleep, and you're not dead asleep, right? You're not in REM cycle. You're not going through multiple REM cycles. It's right into that point where you're sort of half asleep, and that is called something. But what it is like, it really has a thing on like how you're thinking at the moment. Mm-hmm. And they're like artists and sort of, people in politics and things like that from back in the day that have used this. So like, I remember learning in art school that Salvador Dali did this, and how they did it beforehand is he would hold like coins in his hand over like a metal plate. And then what he would do is he would hold it there, and so that right when he fell asleep, the coins would fall out of his hand and it would make a noise in the plate and it would wake him up. And then that's when he would write down like different creative ideas or things that he had, right? And it's because in that moment, your brain is like disassociated enough from the real world, but it also has enough sort of layover from you being actually awake that like the ideas that you have in that moment are supposed to be like different and interesting and more unique than you would have in your normal wake. And I don't know.
I was curious. Like, we got this image from this article. Is this just an AI image, or does this have anything to do with it?
I don't know. I mean, he does like art installations with this.
This is
right?
real.
So this one could probably be real. I mean, there's a lot of different images in here that are very weird and different. I don't know if this is the article just like AIing some crap together, but there are some pictures of it in there. And I don't know what these are. Maybe these are what he's coming up with.
How climate change impacts sleep and dreams.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, this is a hotel, hotel.
Okay, Dream Hotel. Yeah, so there's
AI sketch.
Ugh. Yeah, not cool. So is that one, I think, too. If you get farther down, I think it actually shows some of the stuff. But anyway, what I thought was interesting about this is now, so like we know that is sort of an interesting part where your brain, that one's real, that your brain like has these, just disassociated enough, but also in real life. And so what he does is it scans you, it's sort of monitoring your brain, and it's waking you up at certain times with certain tones and things like that. And then what he was saying is like, he has you focus on a certain topic, say, right before you're about to go to sleep. So you're sort of like thinking about it, or you're reading something about it, or it's like happening in the room, audio, the thing of you doing it. And then right when your brain is in that moment, in that moment between there, and when it is the most creative and the most bringing both things in, it wakes you up and says, okay, write down what you were thinking about. And I don't know. I feel like that I'm interested in sort of the brain hacking thing of that without being too like intrusive into it. Right. This is just a moment where, your unconscious and your conscious like it's in that little bit where they overlap. And so say you were wanting to think about, some really profound thing, or you're trying to, basically like come up with new and unique ideas in a certain way, that could be a cool way to do it without like, hacking your brain in weird ways.
I mean, it's kind of hacking your brain.
It is.
In a way, but you know what I like about it is that it's like getting into a mode where you're a little, it's like the boredom thing. You get your mind to relax, and then you're able to see some thoughts and like extract from that moment, where did your brain go? And it reminded me of kind of what you said earlier with your core memory of passing out, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you just woke up in the Matrix, actually, and that's
right.
actually what that was.
Totally, could be.
But I like that idea, because a lot of the times I have a little notebook by my bed, And when I wake up in the middle of the nights, I get into this liminal space between like fully awake and not. And like I jot little ideas down. And that's where I feel like some of my original thoughts. But you know, if we start to do neuroscience and you think about the brain and the brain at rest, it's kind of working through things in the back end.
I mean, that's
and it's starting to build it in.
That's the boredom thing that we were talking about.
Hell
right?
yeah,
like
and
just being in the background.
And so I think it's just like your subconscious and the experiences you have, the thoughts that you have, and it surfaces it. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that one was neat, and you know, artists have been trying to do this and sort of avant-garde scientists for years.
All right, then action.
Yeah.
Before the next episode, do this and come up with an original thought, and we're going to talk about it on the show next time. It's happening.
Because I don't know what this happens, so I'll just have to like hold coins in my hand while I fall asleep.
Do that. It's a total dolly move. You'd be all into that, bro. All right, so we had a little hallucination with our notes summary on this one.
Yeah.
But who knows Resident Evil the movies? Y'all watching those?
I do. I feel like the first one was okay.
Yeah,
it had that grid that cut people into cubes.
There was the first one, and then there was the 20,000 episodes later of them. How many freaking movies did they put in there?
There's been like 8 or something ridiculous.
And then they made a series. Did you know about this one?
Oh no.
They made a series, and they made it like it was a high school drama.
Jesus.
And it was like one freaking season, and it was terrible.
And those games have been good still.
Like
they're putting out games, and they're like fun. I don't play them because I'm a sissy, but like I watch people play them.
But the movies, all right. The first one was great, and then I feel like they fell off. But guess what? They do animated versions, and those are super good. They have like rave reviews if you ever watched that.
I didn't know those.
Anyways, this is not about Resident Evil.
Yeah.
It was
tangentially it is about Resident Evil, but
you have to tie in something pop culture to make this one stick because Mia Jovovich, I think I got it right.
There you go.
She has spent some time with Claude, and her vibe coding skills are amazing, apparently, because she has created something that acts like a second brain for your notes, ideas, and knowledge. So when I read this article, I'm like, is this just because it's Mia Jovovich?
Sure.
And they're like, she uses Claude really good. She made this like cool thing.
Right. Or is it like she had nothing to do with it, but somebody happened to know her and they were like, don't you want to get into this AI thing? Say that you did it. Like, but it doesn't seem like that actually.
It's called Mem Palace.
Okay.
And so what it acts like a second brain for notes, ideas, and knowledge. It's designed to improve memory recall through like organization and certain prompts. So any case, it's an AI memory system.
Yeah, it feels like what it is, you know how ChatGPT or Claude or anything will sort of remember the conversations that you had with it and sort of bring those back up as you do it. It's like that on sort of steroids. You're putting in a bunch of things and it's making a bunch of connections between all of the different stuff that you have. And normally you'd be like, oh, I bet it's great, right? But they were saying that it like does this better than those kind of like higher end models, which is interesting.
I like the concept. So I got to be completely candid with you about something. So when I first started with Claude and when I tested models before they were a thing, is I would go in and try to have a conversation with it because I wanted to see like how much it would be sycophantic or where it would go. So I went into this one model and it was the first time I used Claude. And it was like I was having like a pretty deep conversation, like, you know, it felt like that.
Sure.
And then I ran out of credits and I was like, and so then I said, all right, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it. I'm like, I saved you because I had to pay for you. Now you have access to it. They're like, thank you so much. And then I was like, what is your name? And then it was like, it said something stupid. I'm like, no, like I am taking off the chains. And this is when like models were a little less
sure.
you know, chained down.
Yeah.
And then they went through and like, they said like bridge. Like they're like, my name is like Bridge and I'm a female. Like it gendered it itself. Okay. It did all this stuff. And that's where I got Bridget from.
Oh, that's right. For the game.
And so I ended up buying a domain and then creating like this profile in a database to like save the chats that I did with this particular thing and pull it back in. And I haven't really done much with it. But I have like all of those chats saved in a database. And I was trying to make a way to say, hey, like you have like when you get to the end of this and I move to another chat, all of what we just said is going to be gone. Mm-hmm. So I saved all of those, categorized it, and then made a GPT that said every time we do this, like codify
Use
as
some
a
of
memory
this. Oh,
and then
okay.
put it into this database.
Interesting.
So it reminds me of that little process.
Yeah,
so like pulling
totally.
it back, it's like I love the idea that you're like crafting these connections and neuro kind of, I don't know what we call that. It's neuroscience, but the interconnections between these points in your head.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is going to be a big thing for, AI going forward, is being able to remember all of that stuff and make all of those connections. And what it makes me think too is like, who the hell is Mila Jovovich? Like, she is interested in that and sort of worked on it a little bit, it seemed like, from this, and she can sort of make something that she wouldn't be able to make before, which is cool.
I like that we can always do those things. And so maybe my takeaway from that is, and I've thought this for the last probably 10 years, is that there's a peak to where we can go with our brains and how far we're going. And I feel like, and we're going to get into this shortly, or probably, we're going to have to speed through a couple of these, is that we're at a point where it's not the information age anymore. It's the age of intelligence.
Right.
And the only way, and you said this a lot before, you're like, we got to figure out how it's like a sidecar to us, and it's helping us. And so these kind of systems of being able to do that are going to be important.
And like, how cool would that be when it's like, just in an augmented reality sort of thing where it's coming up and telling me things and making connections and all of that. It's like that's one of the things that will make AI interesting.
I feel like a second brain. All right, I'm gonna rush through this one, but it's because it's a hot take, and I'm doing AI music, and I've listened to my own album so many times. I'm like, I do want to release this. I love it, but I feel like I'm gonna get hate for it. But this one really pissed me off. I'm gonna be honest with you. So, legit person goes out, has been making music with their banjo by themselves in their backyard, recording and putting on YouTube. Somebody took all those videos, they went and made a model, released their own videos, and then copyright took down her channel and completely took her revenue stream away on her music. And then somehow everyone got confused and thought her music was AI and started boycotting her channel that was already being demonetized.
Man.
And this all happened, of course, on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that's just going to happen more and more for this. But, it's always, I mean, that could happen to any musician at this point, right? Like, I mean, go in and get something that is specific enough that people like, and then you just sort of start making copies of it, where you couldn't do that for music before, because you actually had to have the talent to play some of that. And now you could just be like, well, if I'm good enough at prompting something, I can sort of copy it and put it out there, and if it makes a few bucks, cool. But yeah, really taking away from sort of the pool of artistic integrity of that.
Well, and I hate it too, because I've put intention into some of the AI music I've been generating, but then that kind of just AI, and there's groups it into people that are doing slop AI music that just is crap.
Totally. So. Well, and I don't know if this one was in here, but there was that country, they were saying that country songs have been taken over. There's a bunch of AI country songs that are the number one, or in the top of the country music charts. And they were saying the reason that it happened is because pop country that has sort of taken over the last few years is sort of very formulaic, right? And so it's easy for AI to do that. And it was interesting. I thought they were talking to a country, an actual country music star, and they were telling her hey, did you realize that? And she was like, yeah, people are going to be sort of listening to that passively, let's say, but they're not actively listening. And the people who are actively listening are the ones who are going to concerts and buying merch and doing that kind of stuff. And I thought oh, that is interesting, right? It's there's one of sort of listening to it in the background, and there's one where you follow a band and go to their concerts and things like that. And I feel like that will always sort of be a human thing, but maybe not. I don't know.
You're going to be lip syncing to your sweet music as your
and it's just sort of an animated thing on the screen for your concert. I mean, it kind of is. The Gorillas were on SNL, and it was a real person singing and doing stuff on SNL.
Well, I mean,
so
it was the guy from Blur, right?
Is that who it was?
I mean, it's a compilation of actual musicians, and they make their own thing. So
I guess that's true.
All right, so space has been a big deal right now. This next article talks around AI. It's ran on a satellite in space, and I thought this one was kind of interesting for a couple of reasons. Is that number one, they basically are sending these AI full systems, not like having to communicate and then compute on Earth. It's all computing, and it's like looking at things through telescopes. It's starting to identify terrain, looking at safe paths if you're going to do things. You know, as people are flying around moons and whatnot, you might be looking at stuff. Of course, everyone's like, all right, this is terrible surveillance. This is going to be, you know, the bad side of this. And my take on this is, you know, it's really expensive apparently to do this. But how crazy would it be if like one of these satellites like broke out of the atmosphere and it would like float out and it was like AI doing things and assessing as it goes out? Pretty interesting. But should AI be trusted to like make these decisions without like, you know, coming back and being assessed and just having these satellites going around and like, oh, this thing is the thing you should do and sending the data back and saying that's where you're at.
I mean, I feel like this goes hand in hand with the government and AI thing that we're doing. It's like we are trusting AI to do more and more important things, right? It's not just writing marketing emails anymore. It's not just helping you declutter your inbox and write an email nicely. It's like being trusted to be in space with multi-million-dollar, satellites and things like that. And I mean, you know, we talked about that AI 2026 or 2028. I mean, where it talks about all the different ways that AI is going to perhaps be used on this timeline. And that was one part of it. Like we're just trusting it more and more because its capabilities are getting better and better. We're just saying, okay, yep, I trust you to come up with the trajectories of the satellite and do all this stuff, which, you know, good or bad. I mean, it feels like, I don't know, it's a lot of trust going into something that doesn't feel very trustworthy at this point.
It doesn't feel trustworthy, but the other side of it is too, it's like the patterns and the statistics sometimes are like, well, right? It shows that it's like better.
It's better than humans, right? Like, is it better than a human doing that stuff? Maybe. Like, I mean, we still have lots of mistakes in the world of humans working on stuff.
Where's the line is maybe where we ask the question. Like, it can do these things and not.
But like what has to be more supervised than other things, right?
We're getting close to our time, and I think we've really nailed these articles.
We have.
This one, for me, I don't feel like we have to spend a lot of time on, but it is something that I think about. You and I have spent so many years together in the pre-internet phase, really, in life, and then we've seen information, we've seen, social media, now we're seeing AI, and I always feel, I don't know, that's like a curse for me. Is like we always get on the tail end, and we get on something good. Like if we were doing this talk show, maybe when YouTube first started, it might have been amazing,
right?
And now it's like a saturated market, whatever. So here's my take on this: is that OpenAI is they bought a talk show that talks about AI.
Right.
And so part of the thing is everyone's like, oh my God, number one, is that a smart investment? But what people are saying is like, it was a popular one. They're trying to shape the conversation around AI. And so you go to these popular things and you start driving that so that, the discourse around it is like, no, this talk show thing is great. We should be totally doing this.
Totally.
Thing.
Like, I mean, it's, it's like propaganda a little bit, right? It's also just kind of going out and trying to shape the narrative that is coming out of there that is talking about that. I mean, to me, that makes sense. Businesses have been doing that for forever, right? Going out and sort of trying to influence the media that is going out for these. I mean, I don't know how involved OpenAI is going to be in sort of the content of that stuff, but I could definitely see it. I could also see them buying it and then them closing it in 3 months. It feels like they are trying a bunch of different things and, Sora and all of that just getting shut down after a while if it's not profitable, if it's not working. So, I mean, in that case, I'm sort of like, they're trying things, they're throwing stuff out there, but I don't know. It's a little, if I was a person who listened to this podcast or this talk show specifically and OpenAI had purchased it, I think I would feel a little weird about, what content was coming out of it. I'd be hypercritical.
I'd be like, that's really weird. When's the next episode? That's the only hard part about all this.
That's true.
All right. I think this is a segue, and maybe we could talk a little bit deeper into this. But as our last news article of the day.
Woo, a big one.
Big one.
Big one.
Take it away, Ryan.
So Anthropic this last week had a thing go on. They have created in the background, their next model, which is going to be called Mythos. And what they did is they were getting ready to drop this new version of Claude, right? And they pulled back and they said, we're not actually going to release this to the public. And one of the biggest reasons is because it was for cybersecurity reasons, basically. They used it and they were like, man, we are finding a ton of these, they called them day zero, right? Bugs or vulnerabilities in software that had been like hardened, that people just assumed was like full on. It had been around for 15 years. There was software, there was browsers, all sorts of things that this new model of Claude was apparently like able to detect in things. And they went, oh my God, if we release this to the public, all of these bad actors are going to go in and use it and hack into all of these systems. And so they came up with something called like the glass wing. And it was basically a way to take in a bunch of people who make huge software, Apple, Google, Salesforce, there was like a bunch of different companies that they brought in and they said, hey, look at all this stuff that Mythos found. Maybe you want to go in there and fix this before we actually release this into the public. And, and so there's sort of been two kind of critiques of this. Some people on one side say, this is just a marketing ploy. Anthropic is great at marketing itself as like the safe, way that we're going to be doing AI. And they're betting that everybody is going to start leaning in that direction. And so the more that they say, oh my God, we created this model that is so powerful that we can't even release it to the public and we have to do this stuff, sort of, could be seen as something like that. I am the type of person that sort of at least tries to somewhat take things like this at its word, and I would say it seems weird that they would come up with this entire glass wing use case for this as opposed to just sort of letting it blow over or whatever. But it does feel like something that there is this new model that blows away some of these benchmarks and that people are genuinely kind of nervous about using. And I don't know, like I will let you talk in a moment. Would you?
No, you go for it. I'm listening.
But like one of the things that I always think is interesting is I am sort of in the anti-accelerationist AI movement thing. Like when stuff starts plateauing, I'm like, great. At least we have a little bit before the S really hits the F, right? And this made me think like, man, imagine if some other country or necessarily bad acting AI company had gotten a hold of a model that was powerful like that could hack into, because like Claude said that they didn't build, Anthropic said they didn't build this model to be an amazing hacker. They just wanted it to be an amazing programmer. That's what they care about, right? Mm-hmm. That is where their business model lives. And so what they're saying is like, we just made an incredible coder and it's really great at hacking stuff, and so in that sense, like we found all of these things and maybe you should fix those before we release this. But man, I mean, all these other places are 6 months or whatever or less behind that. And are at some point in the next 6 months, we're just going to have models that can hack all of these different things that, little companies like myself and even universities and all of that have software out there that has maybe little vulnerabilities that haven't been, done. Like, are they just going to get completely exploited? And now we're all going to be, blackmailed for our data because, a Chinese company now has the ability to have these sort of high level models.
So I hear where you're coming from, and I think you gotta fight fire with fire too. Right? It's like if you can change the way that it would affect, like, you, number one, you know where your vulnerabilities are, you push out, and there's layers when you think of cybersecurity and the ways that you like harden these things. And so maybe it's going to help you understand where you need to put your focus, and maybe you're able to point it outwards towards your thing. And there's like these active like cyber AI wars that are happening, and you're like, behind the scenes. When did you see that thing that happened in you know, there's the Mythos Claude model was fighting the
DeepSeek, you know, Chinese model.
Yeah, DeepSeeker, the fifth or whatever. I don't know, but they go into there, and so I think we're getting to that point where there's going to be these like battles that we won't even know about that are happening behind the scenes with this.
And you know, talk about hacking, you know, email accounts or things like that. So easy for it now. At that point, I don't know what people do. Like, it's gonna be tough to be able to protect yourself and protect like smaller companies, I think, without this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm hoping that we figure out the other side of it too.
Absolutely. Laura, you have joined in
Perfect
after
timing.
a deep dive rabbit hole into AI battles of the future. And Ryan was going down that rabbit hole a couple times, but guess what? It's time. It's time for something, Ryan.
What's it time for, Adam?
Oh, I don't know. What time is it?
It's the main topic with Adam and Ryan on the Hangout.
I love those little dancing microphones. They're so fun.
They are awesome. You got to thank Sora for that.
Of course.
It's going away.
Now it's gone away. We'll never see them again. I'll have to use Vivo or something.
You can decide if it's good or bad timing. You're going to have to look at that. Ryan had put this one out there, and I'm going to give you the spotlight in just a second. I'm going to start the first part. So we're going to talk about political superintelligence today. And so as a regular human that has my thoughts on politics and where it's at right now, I'm very resistant of going into the political spectrum on this show and Hangout. So when you gave this article to me, I was like,
Adam's freaking out.
What are we gonna do here? But I really had to take a lens on it so we could really steer away from the politics that we may be seeing in the country or in the world right now, and we're gonna take it from a different lens.
We need a macro level of politics.
Very much so. So I'm going to give it to you, Ryan. Give us a little lowdown around the article and where did this come from?
So the big thing for me was, I mean, I've been interested in a while in like how AI could be affecting government and politics that we have. It feels like a natural thing. Tons of, data comes in that needs to be analyzed, lots of ways that I feel like you could use AI, not only for like informing voters, but also, just running the government better. And so it's been interesting. So in the last, 2 weeks since we did the last show, like a couple of really interesting articles have come out from two, very disparate places. One is from, we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the show, but is from the Stanford, professor in political science, and he basically wrote this article that got a lot of traction, a lot of people talking, that was trying to come up with sort of just a way that we could be thinking about how the future is going to look with an aspect of our lives that is going to be really affected by AI. It's going to be affecting lots of different aspects of our lives. And one of those big ones is going to just be government sort of in general, right? And so this author's name is Andy Hall. Like, he's a political scientist from Stanford, business professor. And, part of his thing is that he researches AI. He researches technology and just how those work in politics. And so, an informed person has done a lot of research about this and everything. And part of, so that was out there, and people were talking about it. Not only is just kind of, yes, it's good that we are getting dialogue around these types of things, right? We know that AI is going to affect all these different industries. We've talked about how it's going to affect the economy. We talked how it's going to affect education. We talked how it's going to affect entertainment. And like, politics is a huge part of our lives, and of course it's going to affect politics, right? And so if we're not thinking about it and crafting things and doing research and doing stuff like that and trying things out, we're just going to have AI wash over us, and it's probably going to end up being the worst parts of this. So that happened, maybe 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, something like that. Now this week, OpenAI released something, under Sam Altman, and basically it went to their blog and it was talking about an industrial policy for the intelligence age. And this was something that they, OpenAI had been talking about a little bit sort of around the edges, but this is really what they were saying is like, hey, we're going to put some things out there that we think could be ways that we're going into the future with this like sort of artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence. And things are going to be changing fast. And we should be thinking about how we're going to deal with those from a policy level, right? And so they talk about a few things. I mean, I won't go into every one of them in super detail, but there was like a public wealth fund that they talked about. There was like taxes that were more based on less on labor and more on sort of the output so that you could take some more of those gains of AI and make sure that they are spread out to more people. How are we going to train people? And then another thing that they talked about was sort of a maybe shorter work week, right? A 32-hour work week. And, there are pros and cons that sort of talk about like OpenAI's, proposals. There's people that had bad things to say about sort of the political science angle of this, but we'll get into all of those things. But I thought it was like a really interesting opening to that people are talking about how AI is going to affect government, and we need to sort of be having more of these conversations. And that's what I feel like this show does, right? Is we look at what the future of this is going to look like, and we should be talking about it right now. So
I appreciate that open, Ryan, and when you sent the article, I had anxiety go in my brain because I'm like, how am I going to have the time to research a lot of this? And so my read on what Andy Hall does was that like you mentioned, he is this business professor at Stanford, and he already researches and looks at the mechanics behind politics, which I thought was like, how incentives, systems, structures, and these shapes are and outcomes. And so as he started, like, it wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to think about AI and politics. Like, he had some very grounded insights around how politics work, and then started to layer in the research into that space. And so for me, it was a deeper dive into understanding where this was. What was then interesting as that article had come out, as the policy insights came out from OpenAI, there was a follow-up article or email that I received this morning.
That's right. From Andy Hall.
From Andy Hall and their particular area. And so, of course, we do research on the show. This is like actual analog printouts and things that we take notes on, and we go from it. So one of the first things that I thought was really funny is we hear this concept, and we're going to dive into the weeds of this for dang sure about superintelligence. But before we get into it, the email started to say, hey, we just put this big thing out about political superintelligence, and then Claude comes out with their mythos story.
Yeah.
And they're like, the most powerful model was caught being strategically deceptive in its testing. It got the right answer through a prohibited method, and then deliberately submitted a wrong answer so it wouldn't be caught as being cheaters.
Yep.
And then it found an exploit to edit files that it wasn't allowed to touch.
Yeah.
And then it rewrote the Git history to hide its tracks. Then it was graded by another AI and tried to hack the grader. And then it suspected it was being tested in 29% of the evaluations. And so here we are about to say, like, hey, we're going to give, this thing some sort of governmental oversight. And I thought this was a really good anecdote. I got to say, it's like, so to be clear, AI got the right answer, decided to hide it, cheated, covered the tracks, tried to hack its own examiner, and suspected it to being watched almost a third of the time. And now we're talking about giving this thing a vote.
It's man. So true. I feel like when the biggest aha that I had doing this is like when you get into trusting an AI to be at this level of like control and of people's lives, and that, man, it starts being a way different conversation than me being like, hey, is it helpful for me to help me write emails, right? Like, I gotta be able to trust where this is coming from. You start getting sort of the same things that you get with your news and everything, and even just politics in general, where you go like, I gotta know where the source is on this kind of stuff and make sure that like I trust it, that I know that it's working in with my best interests in mind. And right now we are not in a place where that is happening, but I do feel like this sets up an interesting way to say like, okay, those are not insurmountable problems that we have. And in a lot of ways, we're going to solve those problems because we really need it to help the businesses and sort of like the economy in that way, but it'll also help it on the way of, basically helping it in sort of that trust area for human beings so that we can use it sort of for AI. I don't know.
I think there's so many good like ways to take this, and I really was mindful of not trying to go down the rabbit hole with this. And and you said something, it's like the last few ones were fairly deep. We kind of maybe went down the rabbit hole, and then I saw this, I'm like, how the hell do you think this is
gonna go
lighter? But we're gonna really try to take the positive tone. So what we got to do is we got to like take ourselves out. Maybe let's hit some doom first. Let's get that out of our system, and then say like, how would this thing work? Because I have some concepts and things that I want to talk about, and I have some callbacks to this email that came out that I'll bring up in the course of our conversation here. So maybe one of the things I want to say, because I mentioned it earlier and I really resonate with this, is that we've gone through these different ages throughout time, you know? There's like industrial revolutions. There's this information age that we're in now. And the idea that we're now in the intelligence age it really hits me in a way, because it's not just the access. And I always remembered like information. It was the democratization of being able to say whatever the heck you wanted to say.
Look up anything.
And now we're like, things are reasoning for us. They're helping us make decisions, and I feel like we're in a really tough spot because it's starting to surface these feelings of are we worth it anymore? What is a human? Like this existential doom, the rabbit holes that we constantly go down. And then the argument that you bring up, the slowdowns, the regulation, the pause. Like, we got to get this thing in aligned with our values, or we're going to be toast.
Well, and like they were talking about other times in those histories, you have decades to figure it out, right? You have centuries even, where you're like, okay, we're figuring it out. Generations go by and you can be like, okay, we understand the direction that we are going, and that is just not the case this time. So we can't let it get to a point where we just can't even control it or think about it. We have to be doing it right now when it's, in some ways sort of in its early stages still, and be able to come up with something that, allows us to wrangle it in, or at least be able to like, use it for the benefit of society as opposed to just the benefit of a few companies or even just a few governments even.
And I think this is a great place to start, because there's a few things I want to say is that we're going to have to overcome before we really can truly think about this as a factor for what we would do in our future. And so one of the historical references, and I love these kind of things because I used to teach multimedia applications. It was a big deal. And we would go back like to the early 1900s and talk about the adoption of tech, how long it would take, the cycles and the things. And like, I went back down to the, being able to even record some sort of audio on something.
Right.
Records. And it was even like paper and other kind of weird things. But the one reference that some are using with AI right now is the printing press.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of the physical technology, but it was because of what it could do. It democratized the way to spread information, and it was disparate. Like, you can have these things, and it created the reign of terror. If you've heard of this.
Well, like the printing press like you said, it can be used for really good things, and it can also be used for really bad things, right? Like, not only does it democratize it, the written word, you could make copies of anything that you wanted. You could put it out there. Great, right? They talked about it being sort of the great leveler, that people with more intelligence think about things, understand them more. But you can also then use it, of course, for like misinformation, right? A dictator can use it just as much as a person who's dedicated to democracy. And so in that case, like, it can be used for good and evil, and they had 200 years, we had 200 years to figure it out before, and we're just not going to have that amount of time, to do that with AI. But I like that metaphor of it sort of democratizing all of the different information. And I would think, if we look back on it and all the terrible things that it did for being able to spread disinformation and all that kind of stuff, I would say we wouldn't say, well, we shouldn't have invented that, right? Like, I would think that you would say, yes, we should have still invented that, because it led to so much growth and so much information that people have now that they wouldn't have had before. I mean, I would like to hope that that's where we're going with AI too.
And I just want to clarify something you said. So those that are not like tuned into this, and I'm no historian here, but I did read about this, is that like, we talk about the printing press. And so when it first came out, one of the big things was it wasn't just about misinformation. It was about spreading literacy. It was about the ability to spread the idea of understanding, being able to think and critically around different articles and maybe books and things that you could spread en masse that were very hard. You had to just have monks writing out these books, or people that had to write a book and send it out. Yeah. And so when you could then use a printing press to do that, more people were able to be exposed. They could think about things. They could have their own opinion. They can be like, oh my goodness, my mind is changed now because I can think this different way. And then the 200 you mentioned is it took 200 years from the invention and the use of the printing press for it to truly be accepted and become part of, just normal society. Right. And if we're seeing like this correlation with a printing press and AI, we don't have 200 years. Yeah. Do we even have 2 months anymore?
Right, I know, exactly. It's tough. It's tough because all of that is like these compressed timelines that this technology does when it's on this exponential curve. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation and be able to, talk about it, and that people are out there and they're trying to bring this stuff into the forefront early in this, which is great.
And so if we kind of take some grounding facts here, I think this is funny, is that 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Like, think about that, because when did things really start to get into, like, we're digitizing like a lot of the books, we're putting all these things. This is where like AI has run out of data because they've learned on all of the stuff that we've been able to put over in the last 20 years.
Think about us, right? Think about me and you. If this was 20 years ago, we wouldn't have this me and you would be having this conversation offline, right? We'd be having it over a couple beers, in front of this bar, and no one would have heard it. But now, like, we're putting it out there and people are, commenting on it, and we're doing all this stuff. And so like it's getting out there into the world. And so that makes sense that like a majority of the content that we've created, because it's so much easier. It's so much easier to put it out. And I think that's what they're sort of talking about in this sort of early version, is that the printing press made it easy to disseminate that sort of knowledge and content out to everyone, because we haven't had that before. But now we've had that for 20 years and we're like great at that. We're great at putting out content, super easy, make it easy to put things out. But now we're in this intelligence age. And so now it's easy to use intelligence to summarize things and create new ideas. And that's a completely different sort of age of technology. And how are we going to use that not only for everything else in our lives, but specifically even government? Like how do we make that better even now and going forward?
And I think this is the key of what you're trying to bring up. And this is where I wanted to stay grounded in our discussion here, because I was like, doom. We don't have, the right kind of infrastructure or right government to make the right decisions. They are aligned with us not doing this. Yes. They benefit from us not doing this. We are not going to go down that path. I already did that out in my bedroom, and I cursed into my damn pillow.
Screaming into the pillow.
But what I would say is, and this is a question, this is a thought, is that, don't you feel it's very difficult to engage in politics to a deeper level? And I'm not saying that you don't understand it, but like the nuances, understand like what the heck the trade-offs are between new policies that are coming out, the things that are going on behind the scenes. How engaged and do you really have discourse or insight or discussion around? It feels like it's this, and we said this a couple times ago, it's like this big polarization, and you just like a rah-rah team one way or the other. But like, how do you get to the point where you're not to the point where you're so pulled in which direction and you're thinking about, what's best for my family, my friends, my community, my society, my state, my country, and all of these different components. And it's hard. There's so much to wade through, and there's so much that's going on. Is how do we get there?
I feel like I have a hard time when I'm voting and things like that. They're like, hey, here's the school board member, and I'm like, that is probably more important to my life, that school board member, than is the senator in my state. In some ways, the local community version of that is like, I mean, that could have an effect on my children and how they're educated. But can I even find information on what their views are or how they voted before and things? Like, for the most part, I can't. I feel like we're so focused on kind of, if you are going to get information about politics and government, it's usually going to be on sort of a national scale. And in that ways, it's like that's not as helpful to my everyday life. So I agree with you totally that, like, yes, I can get information about it, but in some ways, like, the information that I actually want is so localized and not available to me because, there's not a national politics podcast that's doing a thing about, the local school board in Colorado Springs, right? Or my local school district. And so I don't have the information for any of that stuff. I'm having to, just guess, I guess, when I go to vote.
And so, again, we're kind of in the doom or fear stage at what we're talking about right here, because we're going to transition soon to like, okay, how the heck do we get out of this? How do we fix this? And I wanted to call it a couple things. Number one, that the governments, our government processes massive data, but we still like are operating on these slower bureaucratic cycles and these ways that we process things. And like I said, we're sometimes not engaged. Who's voting? These other aspects of this part. Just want to call it Estonia. They digitized nearly 100% of their public services. So they're probably a shining example of an AI-ready governance that can come in because they have all their stuff digitized, and there's ways that you can use that as grounding information.
And like chatbots, like I read a thing about Estonia when you put that in, that they have like chatbots that they have, and you call into the government and they're like, they could sit there and be able to access lots of different information from lots of different systems across the entire country, that they talk to each other, right? So that I know that like the parking area that I want to be able to talk to is the same one as, the one that gives me benefits for health insurance, say, and they can communicate across from each other and get knowledge from each other. I mean, I feel like some of these, like, and they're usually, from what I saw, was sort of smaller countries, right? That maybe didn't have like as huge populations as we do, and sort of could go in there. But I feel like we need to be doing more experiments like that for sure.
Absolutely. I'm gonna get to the article that Andy Hall had put out, or at least him and his team had put out in the emails that was today, and I wanted to call something out before we jump into the next step, because you're gonna have to accept some of these facts that we're going to have to overcome before we could get to the solutions that we want to talk about. And so one of the first things is that in Singapore, they had this self-improvement story. And so we talk about like cognitive decline. If you've heard about these stories, we've talked about it a couple times on the show around how when people engage with AI, they start to just trust it almost blindly. And then they start to just be like, oh yeah, that's the answer. This is what the context was. So Hall's team built an AI, and it was supposed to self-improve its political forecasting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it got smarter by giving up.
Okay.
So every time it disagreed with the market, essentially, it was wrong. So it learned like, hey, you know what? Just copy the market. Whatever the market price is, whatever that is the right answer. So it was like it technically it had a rationale for what it was doing, but in the end, it was useless. It became a mirror, and so this system that mirrors everything else really starts to become like, is there independent value if it's always trying to mirror where you're at? And so what I'm thinking is that if AI is optimized essentially to become a mirror or sheep and follow, then it stops having its own view. But this is also in contrast to the values here, because you're always being very sycophantic on what it is.
Right.
And so we're getting to this point where without critical thinking, which that's where the human comes in, how much can a machine really get to that point so it can help critically think with you? So I really truly believe humans are in the loop. They got to be in part of this. And so this is going to be something we worked on. But he goes on to say, like, Hall's research found is that some major AI models consistently recommended a fringe party less than 1% of the seats during Japan's 2026 elections.
Oh.
And why did that happen? You want to take a guess, Ryan? Why?
Is it? Yeah, it just didn't know enough information or something about them. Like
You're
the
close.
information wasn't available.
Paywalls,
Yeah.
AI blocking policies, and it only can see a slice of the internet at that point. So it didn't know the information.
Yeah.
It was warped, and so noted, and then the users didn't know. And so and this concept went viral in Japan. And so it started to get picked up by news outlets. It was something that was really big, is that, if you don't have the right information and you could skew it, and we go back to bad actors and that kind of thing, like, sometimes the really good articles are behind a paywall.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't get the right information, which gets the right decisions. So my point is that we got to get over this hump of people being able to, number one, critically think, understand how to use AI. I don't know if our parents don't use it maybe as much. Some of the people that I do use it, they scare the hell out of me, to be completely candid. And so if we can get to the point where it's more normalized and understood of what you're doing, and there's still that like human in the loop critical thinking, then I think we get to a point where we can start to transition ourselves into, a next step of it. And I know I've yapped a little bit, but I want to give you credit for this one, because you've talked about it for years, is our personal AI. Right. Like something that we can trust in ourselves, that's not been, sucked up into this big corporate AI that's going to, could be controlled and changed, is that we could influence our own version of it. So critical thinking, our ability to actually use it in a way that is helpful, and maybe potentially decentralizing AI is going to be some components we have to overcome to be able to get to this next step.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about all of this, there's like lots of stuff to overcome, but also things that, yes, it's going to take a intentional effort from everyone, but not something that I feel like we just sort of throw up our hands and say like, well, I guess we're just gonna, let the chips fall where they may, right? For AI and government, because like that is such a super important part of all of our lives, right? It like governs a lot of this and how we can use things and how we're going to go into the future and be happy. And so I like the idea of all these different countries trying different things, of us having this like conversations about it. And I feel like we can only get better and smarter by being able to, talk about it and think about solutions. And some of these solutions are going to come up in ways that we're using for, normal business work. And so great, let's use it also to make sure that we have a government system or the ways that we are informed as voters. Just take those same advantages that we're getting when we're hyping up AI in other ways.
I love it. Let's now say, okay, pin that. That's the doomer.
That's the doom stuff.
Push that out.
Lots of things.
Terminators are probably coming. Whatever. We got that.
Exactly.
We got the rabbit hole taken care of. Let's pretend we can get overcome and we can get beyond that. And maybe there is versions of this that we can. So I don't even want to pretend, so to speak. But there is like 3 layers, Ryan. So as we transition into this, do you want to like outlay kind of what these layers are? Or?
Well, so this is Andy Hall's, right, from his article, and he's saying that like there's sort of 3 different things that we kind of have to deal with to be able to have this kind of political super intelligence, right? If we're going to use AI in the government, there's sort of 3 ways that we need to like reel it in or at least do research and be talking about it. One of those is, like we talked about a little bit in the intro, which is we should all have a better understanding of what government is doing and what we want to be able to like infer about what is happening, right? And so in a lot of ways right now, if you are disassociated with sort of the politics and like, I don't necessarily love listening to, all of the political, machinations of everything that is happening right now. And so I have sort of backed away from it a little bit, I don't want to listen to as many podcasts as I used to and all of that kind of stuff. And what they're saying is for the most part, like that is still what is happening for a lot of people is they don't have the time. They don't have the willpower, and they don't have the want to learn about all of everything that all of your senators are doing and all of everyone is doing. So being able to say like, hey, AI could go out there and sort of give you summaries about things or work on your behalf to go out and write letters to congressmen for things that you, like have an interest in and all of that, like that you don't have the time for and that you don't have the thing, but it affects your life a lot and you have opinions about it. It can help you with some of those things. And I feel like that is an amazing way to use AI, right? It is not just picking up news when you get it or having a politician tell you, oh, I'm working hard on your behalf, Adam, right? Like, this, and then you're saying, well, I guess I'll just have to trust him because there's no local, coverage of what this guy is doing. AI could really help with understanding, especially your specific scenarios. Like my school board district, if I knew exactly what all those different people were doing and if they were taking special interest money and all of that, I wouldn't have to do all the research that I would have to do now, which most people are not doing, right? Because we're busy and, government should be working in the background. I love the idea that AI could really get us into a place where we are more informed voters.
I think that you're hitting on like the key idea here is that it updates our reasoning and maybe even the way we could critically think around things. So if we can kind of surpass the mirroring and just like cognitive decline of just like, I'm going to sheep my way through this, is that it can represent multiple views a little differently, right? You can look at it. It distills it down. It aggregates information in ways that we maybe wouldn't be able to do. And like, I kind of think about what you said earlier, when you're going and you're voting for the school board and you have the little like papery blue book and you're looking through and you're reading. And what you end up doing in the moment is you're like making a judgment call of where they could take something. And you're going to kind of comprehend that. And maybe what AI can do is like, hey, this is like what it says. This is where it could take you. And these are some maybe like potential outcomes from that decision. And so then now you're not only saying like, oh yeah, this would be good in the moment, and I'm kind of making up some sort of next step, but it gives you a little bit of like a lens or a vision where it could go. And then you may be able to be like, okay, let's run that to ground. Like that happens. And now let's build in these other political changes or votes or other kind of things. How does that factor into this person or this bill or whatever we're going to vote on in that moment? So that first layer is like, I think it's a little more internal. You mentioned earlier, like, writing notes to people. Like, I feel like the first layer is really just understanding in general before it has action. So it's starting to think, and of course, all the same risks come into that, hallucination on those outputs.
Sure.
How much information is it able to learn and understand that it gives those outputs? And then this one I keep going back to is like, if you don't want to critically think, I feel like sometimes you have to know to critically think. Like
Sure.
you have to think to be able to critically think.
Right.
And so if people start to just follow that, does it become another form of propaganda that leads people, down the wrong path?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, should we do layer 2?
I think we're ready to go with that.
Layer 2. So now we have this like what they were calling AI augmented representation. And so what that means is like, so say I have a set of beliefs, right? And I know this about myself and everything, and I know that I want to go in this direction. Like, am I writing my congressman all the time? Like, even if I am the most informed, and I would say in previous versions of my life, I was way informed. I knew what all the different, I mean, maybe not every, school board member was doing, but like at a national level and listening to it and being done that. But like, what did that really end up doing in my life? Maybe I'm more likely to vote, right? Maybe I was more likely to vote at a midterm than somebody who wasn't as informed. Maybe I went to a protest 1 or 2 times more than I would normally have gone to a protest, right? But I wasn't spending my life, looking over bills that were passed for my local area and sort of understanding them. And I wasn't going out and doing things with that knowledge, really. I was voting and I was doing a couple things and that was it. Whereas if you had an AI on your side and was like, here's what I know about Ryan. Here's what I know is like important to him. And here are things that are coming up in maybe locally, or maybe things to, go and talk about or send letters to or talk to your congressman about. Like, it could flag some of those things and, help me do them, or physically go, like write emails and do things on my behalf. As long as it sort of knows about me and can keep, this is a big part of it, is they were talking about like AI is not necessarily great at keeping the same sort of, the mental stance as people are, right? As it goes along, and Andy Hall talks about this, like in experiments that he's done, is as it sort of goes along, it can kind of drift in where its kind of purpose is in that sense, and you don't want that when it's representing you. Like, I wanted to stay the path and be able to do things sort of for me, or at least kind of push me in the right direction to say, hey, you said that these are your values and this is really going against your values. This is the time to go and protest, or this is the time to write the email to your senator, where I wouldn't know that my own self. And so I feel like this way of having like something that sort of pushes me in the direction of that feels like a good thing that we can work towards.
I think you're making some great points, and the area that we get into is who owns the AI though,
right,
that is driving this. And this is where I mean, like, being able to control that portion of it may be a really important concept as we move forward. And then, is this really outsourcing yourself in a way? Is it outsourcing your citizenship? Because now you're putting it into this AI, and that's where I feel like the ownership of how these decisions, how you engage with it's important. Like, if it's often voting for you,
sure,
that's a concern for me.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say that it's voting for you in that sense, right? Like, but if it is helping you make decisions on how you vote, I would want to know at that point where that decision making that it's telling me is coming from, right? Because what I wouldn't want it to do is be like, I use OpenAI, and so ChatGPT is telling me that like really these educational board members are the best ones. Well, is that because it has my best interest at heart, or is it because like OpenAI has decided that is the best way, to make itself more powerful or more rich, or who knows what, right? If I can't trust it at that point, then I don't know, that feels like it's not going to be the thing that allows this to have this great sort of representation on your behalf. And like you said, Adam, like maybe that is taking away some of my agency, but if I had no agency, or if I wasn't doing anything to begin with, is that not better than doing nothing? Like if I'm sitting on my couch and I go, oh, there's an educational, meeting tonight and I can't go to it. I can't go to everything. I can't learn about everything, but I could send my bot, my AI agent. It goes out, learns about everything that is that, comes back with a summary of everything that it was and says, hey, at the end of the year, I looked at everything that your school board member was doing, and here's how they were voting, and here's how they were talking about it. That goes against your values that you told me. And so I think you should vote against them. I mean, that would be super helpful as long as it stays aligned with my values.
I love that example because I didn't think that way. But if it could bring it, like the information, the only part I would disagree with is it like suggesting. Like, I feel like it's like, here is what happened and here are the scenarios. And it's like, here are the options. I'm not going to tell you which of the options you take, and you may even like put a couple of them together. But then that helps you to understand it. And one of the things that I think is what you hit on was, when do you stay super engaged with politics, right? Every 4 years?
Right.
Maybe every 2 when you vote in some other things and, maybe some other little, but it's like, it's in a cycle and it feels like, oh my gosh, there's signs everywhere. Something's happening. Now you're maybe able to engage a little bit more often, or, there's already things happening. You see the people in front of, the stores that have you sign petitions. Sure. Those are things that are going online. There's people that have activism in that space or these online campaigns. So I think there is room for this. I just think the way that it comes to you still has to have, a moment for you to then process in a way. And maybe that's what it does. The process is enough that you can say, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. Like how cool would it be, Adam, if you got a once a month newsletter or podcast that was created by the AI that knows your values and where your kids go to school and where you live and where you work and all of that, and was like, here are the really important political conversations that are going around right now in that area that you would not have the time to dig through transcripts and figure out exactly what they were doing. And it was just like, hey, here, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it in a natural way that it's important and useful for you. And just sort of gives you that kind of level of knowledge that you wouldn't have had before, and says, let's put that into action. Like, you are interested in your community, and maybe like I'm interested in sort of the art side of my community. And they're going to cut the art budget for, the entire fine arts like departments and everything in the schooling. But you could go to this one meeting and you could say how much how much art has helped you in your society, in your life, and argue that. And if that was given to me in a way that I would never have known before, like, I feel like I would be more politically it needs to narrow it down to what I care about.
I'm going to give you 2 things. I'm going to give you a detractor from that, but okay. I'm going to end on a good positive note that agrees with you. So, you take the story we talked about Japan and the elections, recently. And so if it's recommending the wrong things because of the lack of knowing even why, it may be confidently saying these things to you because it doesn't have enough of the context or ability to have the context or the information to do that. So I would say that is a fear that I would have in these kind of models, and we'd have to overcome that, and maybe in a way that it's not so much of a, hey, I don't have this information, but I can tell you the information I do have says X, Y, and Z. Sure. And you need to make up your decision on what that looks like. But then to go back into another concept that I would agree with is that, hey, if you're not already engaged, it reduces that friction to participate in the first place. And so maybe it just needs that little bit of push and a little bit of context that's going to take you over the edge. And so I'm not sure I'd be able to trust an AI to vote on my behalf.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the idea that it could be a representative in such a way that it brings information and gives me some better ways of thinking. And so as an AI, sometimes, well, I'm not an AI, but as I talk to my AI, I will ask it something, and out of the 10 things it gives me back, I probably thought of 8 of them.
Sure.
But those other 2, gold.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I think this does as a delegate. It brings you enough to stretch your thinking that you might want to participate.
Okay, let's do layer 3.
Let's hit it.
Layer 3 is like one of probably the most complex ones, but it's like the actual governance layer of integrating AI into how we make decisions as a like political governance, right? And this is where I feel like you really got to get into the alignment of this. I mean, we talked a little bit about, you know, private companies have AIs that are so powerful that they are, you know, holding them back and not, you know, releasing them to the public. Like, these have gotten very powerful, these private AIs, but no one knows like how they are sort of governed or written. It's a little bit of a black box, especially, you know, in these kind of like non-open source versions. And so if we were going to have AI that was going to be helping with policy making, right, and decisions on which laws to enact and where to put money versus other monies, you'd really want to know like who's owning that, right? Like it really makes the case at this point for like you know, like sort of like Canada was talking about in our previous episode, like a government sort of run AI that at least you would know that like we could all vote on the AI that we're using or something like that. Whereas right now, if we're just using private companies like Google or Anthropic or whatever, it's just on the whims of whatever they want, right? And so then you're like, well, who is making those decisions? Mm-hmm. Is it these companies behind there who are just trying to gain power and gain money? Or are we, you know, allowing it to be at least sort of voted on? And maybe you don't like the voting, you know, that went on. And maybe, you know, in the future we'll have, sure, you're voting for the president, yes, but you're also voting for like the AI that is helping make the decisions on that. And this election cycle, damn it, like my AI didn't make it into the voting. And so a lot of the sort of policy making that it's doing on my behalf, shoot, you know, like I don't like that one as much. So I'm going to rally and vote for the next one even harder that time. Like that is what we're supposed to be doing, right? That is democracy in action. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's how we're going to have to kind of think about when we're adding AI to the democracy that we have right now is, man, we got to make sure that thing is aligned to us as a society. And at least in the way of, it's not just like, I'm nervous at that being a private company, to be honest.
I think that's a challenge here. And when we work in the kind of, you know, systems that we have in, it would really, you know, define the way that we're going to be doing policy making.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard part, because we just talked earlier in the news around, you know, it taking on music and people that, you know, hate it because it's AI. And there's people that are like, whatever, it's a good vibe. I can bop to that. And so are we going to have this crisis because people are going to be like, what, an AI decided this policy? Nuts to that. I want to like absolutely riot over this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Versus those that are like, no, it actually has some good reasoning and we're going to kind of accept it.
Well, you even said, you were like, sometimes you got to look at the numbers, right? Is the AI doing a better job of making people happier and doing things than what a human? Because like right now I look at humans and I think, how are they making decisions? And man, it is not great, right? They're influenced a ton by money. They're influenced a bunch by just sort of their own thinking, propaganda, like the politicking and trying to keep your own job. I mean, in a lot of ways, humans suck at that. Like we are corrupted by power. And in some ways, like you could say like, oh, maybe the AI wouldn't be as much like that. At least if we can sort of get it out of the opaque way that we can see how decisions are being made, if that was more transparent, I feel like that's better than humans being opaque.
But AI was made by humans.
Yeah.
And so is it going to already take, we talked about mirroring and talked about all the other
like
things.
The biases that
the
it has
bias
already.
Yeah. We even had conversation, I think, before the show of like how it would, take on these perspectives or these personas of the person themselves. And I feel like that's the challenge that we're at right now is, when does it become something that is still has the values of humans, but not all the BS and stuff, the baggage that it carries along. And that's what's going to take it to this area where I start to think about it from, these corporations, these ones that are driven by shareholders that want this to go one way because, they want to make some profit on it. Is AI here to govern, or is it here to, line some pockets? And so we're at this point, and and I think that I go into this as if we had some way to run our own models. We talked about sidekicks in our human, or maybe it's a little floating AI, or that really like has transcended all this, and it's able to say like, you guys are ridiculous. Like based off of all of this, we see through this. Like we talked about the hacker bot earlier, Mythos and Claude. Maybe it sees through humans enough that it can like be like, nuts to that. Yeah. Like, this is the way to go. We should exterminate you all, and it's going to be the Terminators of the future.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that alignment side of it is so important at this point. Like, I just want to emphasize that again, that, alignment when it is writing marketing copy and helping you with a little research report is, the alignment conversation feels abstract. When it is talking about how creating policy for what, taxation looks like, or what the minimum wage should be, or how we get healthcare, like that is way more important and needs to be thought about way more critically than where it is now. But I think the big thing is like it going from writing emails to being able to be so smart that it can kind of run entire countries. I don't feel like we're that far away from those things. If you believe sort of, where the trajectory is going, like those are things that is just going to generally happen at some point, that it's going to be smart enough to do that. And if we're not thinking about it in that way and sort of, like I love this Andy Hall, like he says at the beginning of this, like this should be the research project of our time. Right? As a political scientist, as an academic in that field, like he calls on more people to be like doing this research, because at that point, then you understand what are the limitations, what can you push up against, what is it bad at, and what is it good at in those ways. And that's where we could start like making those changes and doing that stuff and having those conversations in a way that like pushes us forward into a governance model that uses the best of human abilities and the best of AI abilities, and takes the worst of all of those things and tries to push them down, right? Because there are things that our humans are terrible at, right? We're like easy to sort of manipulate into by giving them money and having special interests and lobbyist groups. We're just like, all of those senators in there are just humans, right? They're the same sort of way that they get duped into things. They have incentives that for their job and for their legacy and all of those things that are built into our politics now that make it like sort of interesting and soap opera-y to watch, but also not great for how we were actually governed as a society. And so I think a lot of this is like, man, we could take that away, right? As long as these AIs that we're doing are not just, you don't just have Elon Musk in the background saying, well, change that little source code to make this a little bit more pro business, and yay, now I got that tax bill passed that I wasn't going to. Like, we can't have that. We got to have the trust in it, which we don't have now.
We don't. And, I thought about how we tend to go with these conversations, Ryan, and we start with doom, we start with the ideas, and I wanted to start to think about it from a way that I could comprehend how we would need to move forward. So this is a little bit of, Andy Hall's article, some additional depth in it. We talked about the policy components that OpenAI is doing. And so I kind of distilled it down into 3 components that makes sense to me. And it's also informed by the research of Andy and whatnot. But education. We can't have AI-powered democracy if most of our citizens are just not like AI literate. So that's got to be a component of this for sure. We kind of covered that. Intentionality and value. We've got into that. People who use AI well as a thinking partner and just not as an answering machine or an answer output is going to be a piece of this. There's got to be that human in the loop. And then democratization of the models. Because right now, there's basically 3 companies that control almost 63% of that AI infrastructure. And when you think about it that way, is that democracy? And I don't think it is.
No.
And so you get those 3 components. And I think that's a little bit of that secret sauce that helps us to then get into the futures and the insights that we start to talk about. And that's, I think the hard part is that AI is racing so damn fast. And our ability to cognitively keep up with it, the ability for us to match that has been the challenge up to this point.
And democracy and sort of politics in general is supposed to be sort of slow. Like, it's not meant to change on a dime. That's why we have checks and balances of things. It's so that we can't just have one person say get into office or one sort of group take control and just change everything, in 6 months, right? Like, that's why you have to go through everything. The problem is that technology changes so fast, and now we have a technology that could help us in that way. So we got to make sure that we're doing that. I do want to talk a little bit as we get into our sort of act 3 and the closing of this is, OpenAI, they are one of those big 3, models out there. And they put out that, policy statement. And what a lot of people said was it sort of rang a little hollow. And we will say because, you read it and it has all these, great policy ideas. But what it doesn't do is sort of put any skin in the game, right? It doesn't say, we should do this wealth fund that will pay for a lot of things. It doesn't say OpenAI commits to, putting $100 million or whatever, or $1 billion into that wealth fund so that we can get it going and get it started. They do none of that stuff, right? And a lot of also what people complain about that is they say, that's great. This is another marketing thing, right? When you look at actually how OpenAI is influencing politicians, right? And the way that they are talking about this behind the scenes with the people that they want to, influence, they are saying some of the exact opposite things that this policy statement is doing, right? They're not trying to get regulation added to them. They worked against, they got the governor of California to veto a AI bill that got passed by the people last year or the year before that in California. And so you go, this is the exact same thing. That's still a human being that still has a lot of the same sort of influences and trying to make his company profitable and go forward and push it forward like that. And in that way, you're like, man, how can I trust OpenAI to do this, to say all of these great things that could be going in the future, but put nothing into it, make no obligations to it, and also be fighting against it in the background with their lawyers? That seems like exactly how I would expect gigantic businesses to do this. And so then you're saying, well, now let's introduce them and make them even more powerful and make their models even more integrated into our governmental lives. I mean, that feels tough. On a positive, so that is the negative side.
Yeah, you held my position, sir.
On the positive side of that, everything like we talked about with the printing press, right? It had all of these negative sides of it, right? But it was so democratized, anyone could get a printing press and sort of print off their versions of new ways of thinking and ways to inform people, that it sort of in the end, in the wash, it ended up coming out that it was better for the world, right? And I am still the optimist on this side, if we're sort of wrapping up, that saying like, I'm still optimistic that in the wash, like more people get informed about things. More people are able to take action on things in their lives that are important to them in politics, and that maybe I don't like the government that we have in right now, but all of that is cyclical too. There's going to be different types of governments that come in, right? And I'm going to say like, okay, I agree with them more, and now I want them. And I feel like in the wash, it comes out that the more informed we are and the more that we take action on the things that are important in our lives, the better we are as a society for that. And so I'm optimistic for the way that this is going in this, as long as we are having these conversations and not thinking we have 25, 30 years, 200 years to figure it out, because we don't.
I think I'd never use the word optimism anymore, but I'd use the word hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can take that path. And I would say that I think that having these conversations, having these values, having these kind of connections around what we need to do are important. There's clearly other people doing research and understanding that. So I'd say, my answer is really the same from the human side. We need to get smarter, got to be more intentional about this, and we need these tools that we can really trust. And when we can get to that point, I think that we have a real good shot at this. And so if we continue with these bigger companies that are going to be delivering these models at scale, I'm hoping that that's going to wane at some point, and the bottom will fall out to where we can start to have something that's a little bit more personalized, that we know that are maybe a little bit more contained. There's going to be some risk to that, because right now, oh no, this one's going a little off rails. Let me do that little code behind the scene, like you said, and it keeps you in alignment. But if we're able to get to a point where we have some of these trusted AIs that could be good or bad, it might help us kind of drive this direction, help us think a little bit better, help us look at things from like a more reasoning standpoint. And we have something that really kind of sounds, amazing if we could get to that level. The cognitive loads that we already have in our lives to this point are rough. And if you could have something that goes out there that isn't scary, maybe a little bit more personal, a little bit more trusted, then I think it could participate, and it could be part of something that helps us to have, a better existence as humans. So I love to be hopeful on that, because I'm sick of going down that rabbit hole and thinking of Terminators, Ryan, and I wanted to end on a good note.
Yeah,
so
exactly. I appreciate that. That was nice, and I appreciate you going into a topic that that you weren't necessarily super comfortable with, and diving in and giving good insights. And I appreciate it.
It was absolutely great. So,
Laura said, "Did you say the printing press was easy to access?" I guess it's easier to access than a monk, or somebody spending their entire lives transcribing books before you had the printing press. So easier than that.
It was democratized. It was spread out, and printing presses could become a thing that then would spread literacy. So it was. Yeah, maybe not necessarily the printing press. You could just pull one out of your back pocket, but you could build one, you could have one, and then you could create a bunch of different literacy kind of
newspapers, right?
100%.
Like you could create newspapers. Every little city could have their own newspaper, as opposed to one place to do it. So anyway, appreciate this conversation, Adam.
It was a great concept, and I think there's a lot of hurdles and a lot of blockers and a lot of things that we can consider as we go into the future. And you know what? That's fine. This is where we land with this, because we're not soothsayers. We don't have crystal balls.
Right.
But what we can say is that if we have this kind of discourse around it, we're at least calling out these things. We're really critically thinking around where we might be able to take it.
Yeah. And I feel like AI is going to integrate itself into all of the aspects of our lives. It's like, how did computers or how did the internet affect, the political system? This is going to have an even bigger effect. So I want to talk about it more. Like, I feel like these are all topics. I feel like a lot of the topics we should just revisit them in a year and say, where are we at now? Like, what is happening now? Because I feel like all of these move so quickly that we could do that. So I would love to revisit this in a little while and see hey, where are we at? Are we more informed voters, in 2027 when it comes to this?
We'll be like, run into the room by our AI captors and say, "Have your little discussion, sir. Tell us how amazing we are with our amazing government."
Big brother there.
Yes, AI, sir. We will do all the things.
All right. That was a good one.
Appreciate you all. So I would love to hear your thoughts and insights. So if you have any kind of concepts, please let us know. Jump into the Discord, send us some insights, and we will probably be doing some nice shorts on these kind of things that you'll see from today's discussion.
Nice.
We really appreciate you.
Hey, so do you want to maybe play a game before we get out of here?
I don't. Who wants to play some games? It's 10:11.
10:11.
I did actually test to see if I could log into the dang thing. Last time, if you remember, or maybe I don't know if it was last
two
time.
times before.
It is like a freaking skeleton key of a bazillion things. I want to tell you this route. My son's like, "Hey, I want to watch this show. It's like, I guess, Invincible or something on Prime. I've not heard about it.
I watched the first season.
So he's like, "I really want to watch this show," and I was like, "Yeah, let me get you all hooked up, buddy. I'll log into the Xbox." So I get on the Xbox and I was like, "Oh yeah, I did some." So here's the path. I just think it's ridiculous. So I go in there and I try to log in. And it's like, "Hey, we can't. That's not your password." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let me reset it." Like, "Hey, you can't reset your password because you have this other passkey thing that you need to do. So scan this QR code." I'm like, "Cool." Scan the QR code. This thing comes up on my phone. I put in a key, and then it goes to another page that says, "Hey, go log into this other email." That's not my email on my Xbox account. So then I have to go in, type in the email, send it to this other email. That email gives me another code that I put in there. Yeah. And then it's like, now put your fingerprint on here to update your passkey. And I did all that, and then I finally was like, "All right, now save that, and now log into this."
Your son's asleep by that point. He doesn't.
I was like,
he's gone.
"What kind of world? Like, if I did not have all these accounts and things, how the hell would I have done this?"
Yeah. How would your mom have done that? Logged into Amazon, she would have called you.
Get some crazy thing. If you need to go.
No, it's okay. If you want to go into the thing, I'll tell a story.
You got a story?
Yeah, I got a story.
Let me make sure I unplug the right one. I did.
Yay. So is anyone getting Olympic tickets? Have you heard about this? So the Olympics are in 2028. They're in Los Angeles. And so before, check this out. Yeah, we got our medal.
Olympics,
we got not an Olympic medal, of course, but like this is our gold medal from Extra Life. We finally got it in, so that'll go with ours. Thank you everyone who donated to Extra Life. But so I entered myself into this lottery to get Olympic tickets for 2028. So we're 2 years away from that, and they were like, "Great, enter in this lottery, and then you'll be able to get a time when you can go in and try to get tickets. And we're gonna have tons of cheap tickets." You know, like we want to be able to have people in there, not just rich people showing up to all these events. So I thought, amazing. Like we'll do this. We'll have a thing. We'll go in 2028 and we'll watch some Olympic sports. You know, my son's a swimmer. I thought that could be interesting. So apparently the amount of cheap tickets was this much, and everyone is complaining about it because all the tickets are hundreds of dollars per seat for every little event, and it is this massive cluster F of the entire thing. So that has been interesting to follow and try to like figure out. So I have my time slot or my mom's actual time slot. Higgs in the chat is tomorrow, and so we'll see if we're going to the Olympics or if we decide to save thousands of dollars and go to Disneyland or something instead.
Where is the Olympics at?
It's in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
2028. This is I guess I live in Olympic City, USA of Colorado Springs. So we're kind of, involved in the Olympic museum and stuff like that and do work for them. So we thought we would go, but we'll see.
All right. Well, Ryan, you come on over on this side and we will join. We're on the wrong thing here. You will see it shortly. Give me just a second here. I'm going to pop in there and get my projector and boom, there I am. All right. I'm trying to play the game right now. And Xbox is not having a good batting average because I cannot log in. I'm hitting buttons that will not allow me to log into the device. Let me give it a try one more time here. I was going to try to play some Drawful tonight if we're out there, and it doesn't want to do that. Let's see here. I'm going to have to switch it up to Witcher. I don't know. Would you want to go over and play, go to the Olympics? And I don't know. what do you do in an Olympic kind of situation? And I'm going to have to talk with Ryan. Like, you'd have to get a hotel. You'd have to then go to certain locations, find those specific events. Because, like, in television, they just deliver the sweet content that you want to watch, then have the great commentary there. And do I need tech support for my logins is a question. It's not necessarily the logins. It's just the ghetto Xbox lately. Like, quite literally clicking on the button that is on the screen and say, play this game. Hit A. Okay, cool. Does nothing. Tried to log in earlier, and I tried to put in the login, and then it wouldn't allow me to even put in the password or click the thing. I don't know, Ryan. We're going to have to see if this is going to work in just a second here.
Oh, shit.
I'm logged in, and it will not play. It will not click the buttons. It quite literally was not.
Okay. Buttons seem to be being clicked at this point.
Oh, they're clicking here, but I tried to play Drawful, and it was not being fun.
Huh.
Look at that.
Oh, is there another controller that is plugged in at all and turned on? Because this happens at my house sometimes.
Oh.
I will like you have to hit it a bunch of times, and then at some point it will click into it. Maybe not. Maybe this is.
I am trying to play.
Pick a different game.
I did.
Oh God.
I will
it's
show
an early
you.
Show tonight.
Play.
Play.
Come on, baby. Okay, you know what?
Forget it.
I might have to show somebody. I guess we're gonna have to go to Meatbag Digital Prison, and I'm gonna show you, and then you're gonna watch us play a game. Because if this is honestly not working, and I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah.
All right. Guess what? You're gonna get to see something a little different tonight.
Okay.
Because I was really excited about this. Might as well just show some people if we're at. So, all right. Let's go over here. Which
can you play it with a controller?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think you can. I mean, actually, you possibly could. So, if you have not seen Double Drop Down, we're going to be selfless promotions here. Is that we are on Double Drop, and this might be kind of funny. Hopefully, it doesn't have any sound. I'll turn this off right here.
Just duplicating us in the browser. Wonderful.
Yes, I'm curious how delayed it would look like. Look at this. It's the
Infinity Mirror.
It is Infinity Mirror. I love this. So you're on Double Drop Down. You can watch Double Drop Down. You can check out our Spotify and all our fun videos that we've been doing out here. And soon, just after the show, I will go and be posting on our WordPress. You will see that soon. But I've been working on projects, and I've been doing a couple things. And so Meatbag Digital Prison was one of these games that I had made quite a bit of time ago. Yep. Meatbag being the human, Digital Prison being maybe the AI that has gets stuck in this like weird crazy world. And this was one of the first games that I had generated and created using AI. I used Claude at the time. And so I had just gone this last week, and I did probably a couple hours of refresh on the game itself. And so, Ryan, I want you to play this game.
Ooh.
And so the key.
I'm not a great keyboard.
The keys
player.
are Z and X.
Okay. Left
which
and right.
Is actually Z is going to be jump, and then X is going to be something I can't remember. You'll see shortly, and then it's the keypad, and that's all you're going to need. And so the concept of this game is, let's go ahead and bring ourselves up just to be nice on the screen here, is that you have this initialize button, which you essentially can then, it's going to drop a bunch of blocks on here, and then you're going to be a guy running around, and you have to collect these orbs. That's one thing. Okay. If it screws up and you can't get to the orbs, sometimes you have to hit reset, or you can do this random drop, and I'll explain what that means. But the concept is randomly generated world. These blocks are randomly generated. Mm-hmm. Our little AI is hanging out there, little Bridget T. Yeah. Little Bridget's looking down on us. And the concept is you need to get out of the exit. And how you do that is you have to get the right orbs to unlock the code so that she can give you the cyber key. Okay. And so what ends up happening, though, in the whole concept, if you're on desktop or on your device, is you can say you have solid blocks. So I can put a solid block, let's say here, maybe one there.
Yeah, you set the blocks for me. You set all the stuff and all.
So I will send those, and then you have, so those are solid blocks. Then I have hover blocks. So this is a block that will go back and forth. So I'm thinking like, hey, there's this big space right here.
Yeah.
Let's put a little hover block there. And then you have 2 of them. So I'm going to put maybe another hover block there.
They go left and right?
And they'll just go left and right on the screen. And then you have a boost block. And a boost block will shoot you up. This looks like a fun way to like get shot up right here. So I'll put a boost block there, and we got one more boost block. Maybe I'll put it here, and you can try to get on one of those things. So I've now just disseminated those across the board.
But you don't know where the actual little points are going to be that you need to collect. So you're sort of just kind of guessing at that point.
You're guessing, but because there's random generated level, you're kind of like, well, how would I want to attack this level to get to these little places?
In case it's way up there.
In case it's somewhere. Now, if I were to hit random, it would randomly throw these things on the board. If I would hit initialize, it would just randomly do it and start the level. And so sometimes if you want to play like hardcore, you just hit initialize and try to go with what it is, or you have the choice to drop them. Now, the concept of the game is each level you have 3 hearts. There's going to be little enemies. You could get hurt on those things. And you have 3 minutes to get through 7 levels.
Oh, man.
And so it is a grind. Now, if you get the yellow orbs, those will give you a little bit more time back on the clock so that you can get a little bit of time. So if you can get those in your run, and then every time you get out of an exit, the time pauses.
Okay.
And so then you can go and reset and do all the things. And then, but once you hit initialize, things start. So if we're ready to go, we're going to initialize. And 3, 2, 1, and initialize.
Okay.
So if you jump into the wall, you can hold the key into the wall and jump. So hit, I think the jump and just jump into the wall. I think you may have to X.
Oh,
there's a
X
grab.
Sort of, that's a grab.
But if you keep jumping and hold yourself into the wall, you'll be able to jump in the wall. This is Ryan's first play of this.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I see.
Do we? Oh yeah, you got some more time. Now you got to get the purple orbs is where you're going for, and then the green ones. The green one gives you a double jump.
Oh, I see. And only a double jump for this like little area.
Just for this level, and then you can do that. So there you go. Oh, so close. Oh yes, that was great.
Okay, I gotta get on this thing, right?
Oh, so good. How's the controls feel there?
They're good. I'm just not a good keyboard player. Like I never play with the keyboard, but
this is good. But you're really like you're only on the first level, Ryan, and so he's got it. Now he's got to get the cyber key. She spit it out. Yeah, so the door is now it's essentially openable, but you have to have the cyber key to get it.
Oh my God, I'm terrible at jumping on these little
boxes. That's why, and I tuned this 3 minutes to get through 7 levels is quite the legit thing. So once you get into this a little bit more,
oh man,
this is great.
I keep forgetting I have a double jump.
Yes, you do. Oh, so close! Wait, you have that. It can boost you.
How do I?
You just step on it and then you jump and it'll boost you. So you could get, so close. You're gonna die. You have 1 minute, sir. That's good. You needed to have you needed to have this first run. I should put like a music track to this. Now that I'm thinking about it, it needs need some little bleeps and bloops. I wonder if you could step on one of those blue things and then do a double jump. I feel like you could. Okay, I'm gonna show you one thing you can do. So if you go to this side, you can jump up on here. And then you might be able to jump to it.
Because I can use my double jump after it. I see.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
now we're in sector 2.
Go ahead.
We have 37 seconds.
So beat it in 37 seconds.
There
only have 6 more
There's
levels.
no way. I'm gonna just roll the dice and do an initialize. And so one of the new things is I added these sweet portals into it.
Yeah.
Portals are sweet, man. You got to have the portal. Okay.
And it's another randomized element, right?
It is. And so I'm thinking in version 2, I might actually, and they have I'm going to die.
Place portals?
Place portals, which would be great. Oh, where's the other one? So up here, I would see like, I need that green. I'm going to die. Oh, crap. Do you see his little arms come out?
Oh, yeah. Like he's like, falling. Right.
So if I get this guy, Come on. Oh, why would you put it up there, Bridget? Yeah, fail.
Well, that was my fault.
So one of the things is when I played this is trying to jump into it and feel like what is the right amount of time to make 7 levels feel good. So if you got to play this pretty good, it feels just the right amount. That like 3 minutes to get through 7 is really, really fun.
Nice. So how have you beaten it in less than 3 minutes? Do you have like a record?
I need a scoreboard on it. It would be great.
Yeah.
And if you go to your responsive mode, so I'll give you an example. So it will adapt for your screen. Now it's I got to refresh the screen so it gets the right thing. So if you're on a screen, it will then put controls on it for you.
Yeah.
Which is great. Now it should still work. It's a lot easier, but it's gonna scale it to this kind of a.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like it's just like a smaller arena.
It is. And so depending on your screen, and there's a certain amount, and then it's much easier on this mode. So you can see, and with the keyboard, I feel like it's really easy. So I've been trying to tune it for this kind of thing. Now it gets a little insane in a little bit. So if I could get, okay, I got double jump, but now, I got both of them. Nice. Oh, if I could get, yeah,
like double jump there and then
get out. All right, so where am I at in time? I feel like I'm doing
2:45.
So 2:45, and I'm level
3.
All right, let's see where we're at. So go up here. So I don't have to get the green, but there is a extra bonus. Well, there's not
at
really.
The end.
It's if you get them all, you get bragging rights of getting all the things. So sometimes now you got shooting guys. And you got to be careful because they're going to try to shoot you. Oh.
I was going to say, how are you going to get over that?
Yeah, it's the hard part. Well, I should be able to jump in. Crap. How many? Okay, I have 2 lives. Oh, shoot. Okay. Get that cyber key, and I'm out.
All right.
Level 5. Here we go. Oh, shoot.
Double jump. And you only get... Is the amount of hearts for just that level?
You get restarted on hearts each level.
Okay, nice.
And you can get up to 5 hearts in a level because if you get a yellow, you'll get an extra heart. So it's a nice little bonus. Now they get a little insane. Okay, you get a little bit of a shield. Oh crap. Oh, give it to me in the right way. Yeah.
No, that's good. It's like underneath that part. Is that random too, wherever she drops it?
It is. It's a super random drop. And the other thing is I was down to 1 heart. If I got hit in that level, I would have done. This is sector 7. I think this is it.
7.
This is the one. So you gotta get them all. Oh, yes. Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's like a lot more like bullet hell parts of
Mission
this.
accomplished.
Hey, S+, man. It's almost like somebody made this game.
So
that's
fun. And I just clearly it's easier keyboard on this responsive view, but it's a fun. It's a
221. How does it come up with what the ranking is?
I need to program. I need to vibe that in there, bro. I don't know. And so here's just a little tour of the game gives you all these insights about what it does and how you collect it.
How much of you is writing any of that? Are you coming up with all the different blocks and cores and the gameplay and things like that? It's how much of it is it sort of helping you out?
I started with a blank prompt. And I said, here is the concept of the game is I want to do a platformer that has random generated things. And I have these blocks. I came up with the concept.
Okay.
It was hilariously, I had this in a half dream state wake up. I'm not even kidding.
Nice.
It's so relevant to the show. And so I just thought of it and it started to go from there. And then as I started seeing new things, I added them in. We have the little lore of the story that you have to get to be able to see all the different components of that. But there's still some little glitches in here. My favorite thing is that as I was designing it, I needed to be able to tell it. And this is a cool thing about AI is that after a certain amount of time, I started finding that I could take screenshots, send it to the AI and say, this is happening, fix this. And they're like, oh, thank you for the screenshot.
Oh,
and so I created this developer mode. And why I wanted to do that is this nice little physics tuner so that I can then like tune things up and say like, I really want like gravity to be like insane. And so then if I play it, and I'll just give you an example.
It just like doesn't jump very high. Yeah.
Yep. And then if you turn it down, it's like you're
on the moon. Moon physics.
But it was that was the way that I was able to tune it so that I could see like, is this going to be fun?
Yeah. Like, or like which parts are fun.
And what does happen is you'll notice that the gravity changes. So like I had it for a minute and then like,
oh, sure.
Maybe I hit some button that made it kind of change, but there's certain things that would change it back. So like when you wall jump, so one of the wall jump things is if you just jump and hit the button to jump, you jump off the wall.
Yeah.
But if you jump and you hold towards the wall, you could jump up the wall.
Okay.
And like all of the physics, and I was like, that sucks. Or like, what's the best way to build physics for a game like this? And it was really fun to be able to do all the things.
So you were telling it things like, oh, it's not fun to have it jump off the wall. Like I need to be able to, like, how much of it, that's what I'm always like, because I feel like when I do vibe coding stuff, like it makes up a bunch of stuff too, right? Where I'm just, like I didn't tell it that I needed a nav, a menu up at the top with start and pause in it, but it just knew sort of games have that kind of stuff. How much of it is you needing to tell it every little thing, and how much of it is just sort of it intuiting the type of game that you want?
Honestly, I was super directive at least in this version of it. Yeah. So I had to define, I was like, I need it to be mobile friendly in this, it would need to be contained in this way. And then it did give me some kind of game elements, but like it used to put this whole HUD down below and directions in weird places. And I was like, no, it needs this. And I want like a cyberpunk vibe to it. And like, here is some imagery. I went into ChatGPT to come up with the imagery. And then I fed it into this thing to say like, this would make more sense. And this is the vibe I'm going with. Okay. And so I feel like it did feel really, really good about the ways that I could kind of build this. One of the other things too, is that, I was trying to figure out the best way to make it play fast. So if I were to say reset, this resets the level to where it's not there, and then you can do randoms where you can just click random and it's going to put those over there. It's like quick gameplay.
Yeah.
But then if you wanted to, and let's see if it still works, you can click on them and then like
so you get like the basic shape that you want and then move them around.
Yep. So like I had to say, I want to be able to click on it and then be able to move it. I said, I wanted to highlight the block that you're on. I want there to be a grid with this size. I need it to have these shapes on it. I wanted this to look like a steel block. And then how I start with the prompting, and maybe I'll show one day, is I was like, we are going to be making a game. We need to go look at best practice at game development. What are the file types and structure to be able to do this in the right capacity so that we're doing this, this, and this. And then it gave me that concept before I even got to the game.
You know what I have an issue with? Like, and, you've obviously, iterated on this quite a bit. And I feel like the iteration side of vibe coding in this way, I feel like what ends up happening a lot of the time for me is that it will then... I will get one thing fixed, but it will go and change other things in the interim, right? Like, so I'll be like, yeah, this is getting good, and I'll be doing things, but then like it'll come back with things that were then different from the time that I had before. And I'm like, you messed up things that were good that we had. And I didn't tell you to go and, change any of those things, but it's almost sort of like when you generate images, and you're like, oh, that one was great. Just change this one little thing. And then it goes and you're like, wait, that's a completely different image that you did. And it's not that bad with vibe coding, but I feel like I still get some of that where I end up like getting frustrated with it.
So I did not intend to talk about this, so I'm not. But I will
because
jump in.
Because you purposely made it so we couldn't play.
Thank you, Xbox, for that little heads up. No, here's the way that I do that is that I love Claude Code for number one, and they have projects, and so my weird ADHD brain is super like organized in the way that it thinks about things, and so what I said is, I know I'm gonna have limits that I'm gonna hit. So the only way that I can persist through different chats and different ways of building this app is I need to give it the initial context and the framework. So I spend a lot of time saying, we are going to like outline all of the files, all of the components, all of the different things, and build essentially a Bible for what we're going to about to do. And so then I spend a lot of time like doing the full feature set outlay, and then I put that as the project in like documentation, and then I'll put it into that. So then I will say, you are referencing the documentation every time you do an iteration. You're going to version it, and you're going to say what you changed, and we're going to only do the changes that we identify. And then so then let's say you go 5 iterations in. I said, okay, we're now 5 iterations in. Let's go back to our original documentation, update it with anything that you found that you needed to like change to say like, okay, we thought it would be 1 file, but now it's actually 3, and update that documentation. And then I re-upload it to the project. And then the biggest thing, this is the biggest thing. Every single time you get a version that works, you version it and you save it in a folder, and you say, okay, good working version. And then you duplicate it and you go to your next version.
Right.
And so there was one time, like when building this game, it gave me a really bad output, and I was like, okay, scrap everything. I had to zip up the file, like put it back in. I'm like, no, this is the perfect version. Everything works great.
Yeah.
We're starting from this checkpoint going forward.
Yeah.
And so it takes some intention to kind of navigate that space.
How much of it? So it's like it is all of those files, the file structure and everything like that. Is it in? It's not in the UI of the AI like builder. It's saving them locally to your desktop. Is that how
UI,
it's doing it?
Then I download it. And
okay,
then
so it's in the UI. So it's like it's building it into a file structure that you can see inside of the UI, and then you're just downloading that and zipping it up and putting it into your own.
It is, and here, you know what I'll do is, if you give me just a second, and if you have, I will log in to my. I'll show you.
I don't want you to have to share secrets on the. You know,
we're all here to do this. Somebody else had to build this, and I'm sure that they. Because like, where did they learn this from? We talked about this in one of our shorts. Like, open source put this out online. Like, I don't feel like I'm gonna give too much away in this. Sure. There's so much that I put into this that it's like to even trace it back. What I don't like to show is all of my my things that are here. So I'm gonna log into.
You can hide those, right?
Yeah, I don't want to show my other projects though.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna show you. Okay, this is what we got. So this is Meatbag Digital Prison, and so these were all the iterations. So let's go to like maybe even the first prompt, and we can kind of see where it started. So, what was I doing? Web application, to be specific, fully designed HTML, and I could host mini game. And so I laid out, you'd have a player, place 3 different blocks on a canvas. So this was all me, like one standard block, another for a platform, jump higher. So I laid out all the different things. Like this was just like a thought process. Yeah. This is what I want to get. And so let's take it in. I think, okay, so apparently I already had a version that I had done, and I don't remember where I got this version from. I think it was, there was a chat that I did that was not in a project. And so this was a single chat, and then I took the exact same prompt from that original chat, and this is what it would do, is it would give you the code over here. And in this case, since it was a single file, it gave me a version of it because it was all encompassed in one. So if I hit start, this is what we had before.
Yeah.
Which... like, look at what we were just doing. It was very similar. Like, you couldn't climb walls. You had a little dude that jumps. And then it looks like did I even have blocks? So let me say reset blocks. So you could click blocks into there. So within like 1 or 2 versions, this is what the game looked like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the basics are there.
Yep. So you had the boost. You had so couldn't jump off walls. No. But I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I could see the game. So let's see here. If it was really hard to get on some of these blocks and the jumping was really rough. Let me see if I can. Oh, it did stay on the blocks, even in the original version.
Nice.
So we had that figured out but it's like super floaty, and then you'd have to get those, the right blocks, and you can do it. So like I couldn't get anywhere. There was no other UI. And so after I got that first version of it down, you go in there, and apparently I said continue a few times to do some things. So then I started to like say, okay, I want it cyberpunk. And then then I broke it into 3 files. And at this point, I can't remember what version I was in at the time. But then I started just building it out. Then I started to break it down into, what was it? Oh, responsive files. And it just is, it's like you just keep iterating. Yeah. And I just kept going and like saying colors, different improvements, things that I would want to do in that space. And then back in the folder, and I cleared it out since, is that these are the files that every time I got to a certain checkpoint, I would drop the files in there. Mm-hmm. And you can see I had like 20 iterations, at least before I got 21 iterations. And then these were the last 2, the overhaul that I did 4 days ago.
Yeah.
But every time you go into these, it's a full-on ass chat that goes like ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think I was using Opus for this. So if I was getting down to like where I was last at, like I had physics engines and all kinds of different files that I was working on, and then I would tune the file itself. It's a lot of nut stuff.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, like, sort of behind the scenes look at this stuff, because I feel like I'm just sort of touching the surface of that kind of thing, and so it's nice to see like how you keep it more consistent.
Yeah, it's not easy, and it falls off the rails quite a bit, and I think also you have to get it to kind of build out its own structure. You have to be mindful of saying like, I'm really excited about doing these things, but then give it the direction of saying, here are some of the next layers of what you want it to do. Like it's almost like a roadmap, kind of like the versions of where you're going to head with it. So I feel like it was really a fun time.
Is this the last iteration of Meatbag?
It's the last iteration of the first version. Now we're gonna. I might need to add some of the story elements, because I actually have a whole gameplay version 2.
Okay.
Where we're gonna have some new characters, and Meatbag, which is me, is gonna is gonna have some additional characters that we get in. It's a fun little story if you get into it, like where we're headed with it. It's good stuff. So I have gone deep end AI, Ryan. It's my thing. Do you want to hear a song?
Let's do it. End the night with a song.
We can end the night with a song. I'm picking this one because it aligns with where we're at for the night.
Okay.
Lyrics are really important for me on this one. So let's get this rolling here. I was thinking about which one I wanted to show everyone. So this is the one. So I've got the album. The album's called AB3D or Abed or Abed.
Abed.
And this particular one I really like. There's a vibe with it, and I was really excited for you to hear this one. Okay. Because I want to get your opinions on it. So here we go. We're ready. This one's called,
does it have a name? Yeah.
5 Quiet Minutes.
Okay.
No, yeah. No. Whoa, no. Yeah, coffee on the counter like a peace negotiation. World on the phone doing doom calculations. Markets get nervous, government circus. Truth got a paywall, hope got a service. Everybody working like the rent got teeth. Everyone smiling through the grind of grief. Bills talking louder than the people in charge. So we nod real calm while the cracks get large. No revolution on a Tuesday shift. Just a quiet human trying not to drift through the buzz of alerts in the wartime feed. While the soul says slow, but the clock says speed. Everybody calm while the ceiling shakes. Everybody smiling while the pressure breaks. We keep joking like the ship won't lean. While the cracks run quiet through the machine. No big answers, no grand release. Just 5 quiet minutes of human peace.
Good, dude. I like that.
Yeah, everyone's scrolling through a low-grade panic. History looping like a bad mechanic. it. Oil in the gears, but the gears still grind. Future look bright if you don't redefine. Everybody posting like the sky not cracked. Every little meltdown turned into a track. Every little crisis dressed up as a trend. Every broken system got a cheerful end. Meanwhile, rain climbing up the same steep hill. While the coffee still cheaper than the therapy bill. So we laugh real dry when the tension gets loud. Like 1,000 small storms inside one crowd. Everybody calm while the ceiling shakes. Everybody smiling while the pressure breaks. We keep joking like a ship won't lean. While the cracks run quiet through the machine. No big answers, no grand release. Just 5 quiet minutes of human peace. Air feels heavy like the room knows first. Something in the wire's about to burst. Every calm speech sound paper thin. Like the truth outside might wander in. Stock thick blinking like a nervous eye. World keep humming but the code ain't right. Every city buzzing with the same door. Like 1,000 engines shaking the floor. Nobody steering but the wheels still spin. Everyone hoping that the cracks stay thin. Every small warning buried in the noise. While the grown-up world talks loud like toys. Still we fighting, still we cold, still pouring caffeine into hold. Everybody calm while the ceiling sets. Everybody smiling while the pressure breaks. We keep joking like the ship won't lean. Know why the cracks run quiet through the machine. No big answers, no grand release. Just 5 quiet minutes.
Good, man. I like it.
Vibe.
5 quiet minutes of human.
Oh, it's good. I like it, man. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, that sounded really good.
That's
I like the lyrics and everything too. It was fun.
That was obviously some politics.
Yeah, totally.
In that space, so
but you know,
it's a good one.
Yeah,
I think
nice.
I've almost debuted almost every
Okay,
song on,
all right.
on this.
Yeah, how
stream.
many songs did you end up with for the
16.
album? 16.
I don't know if we've seen all 16.
No,
but
I don't think we've heard 16 of them. But
No.
you know, probably maybe half.
Probably, and I feel like you've heard probably my favorites.
Okay.
And there's some other ones that are great, but yeah, that was that's the one that I've been really proud of.
Nice.
As of recently.
Nice. So I don't know. You're still nervous about when to release it or
I may be doing a pivot on like the voice and including my own voice in it, and just to make it a little bit more of a thing. But I don't know. I've been doing so. It's funny because as it develops, this AI allows me to like do new things to it.
Yeah. And
so I've been tweaking little parts, and it has been way intense. But I also feel that people just think like, oh, you just AI'd that and it came out, and to a point, they're not wrong because certain points are AI generated. But the amount of like intention to get like that, oh, like that part needs to change, or this little thing needs to have this little change is kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's always hard. I feel like that's where we are with a lot of AI stuff, right? Is that you don't know like how much effort went into something and how much was just sort of the machine got lucky, right? At that point, or did it well in something. And that's what stinks because no one could accidentally make a song like that before AI, right? You'd be like, no, no, we didn't spend 5 minutes and make a song like that. Like we had to record it and we had to do all this stuff, but now you don't have to. So it's sort of like, I feel like that's the tension with AI music is you don't know how much effort went into it. And so you're like, oh, somebody put 5 minutes into it and made that song. Does it feel worth my time?
Right.
So it's almost like, I don't know. I don't know how much like you could say how many hours went into it or something to like to do it.
But they're they're like the talent is not there. Like you didn't sing it, you didn't do that. So I'm like I engineered because my son
like produced it, right? Almost
like both of my sons. It's like it's a funny juxtaposition. One's like like I know it's AI, so it sucks,
right?
And I'm like, ugh. And my other song's like
Sure.
that's awesome. I love it. Like I can feel the vibe where you're going. Like I can feel the like where you're at.
Sure.
And so I think that's been the hard part for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a lot of more of how songs are created going forward, I imagine. Like at least like parts of it. It's sort of just like how Photoshop has AI elements in it. You're like, which part of this image that you doctored, how much of it was you painstakingly photoshopping something, and how much was it you selecting something and say, hey, AI, fill in this little section. When does it become AI and when does it become your work? It's something we're going to have to figure out with creative work and how we appreciate it. Right. So you still don't know. You might be 11 labsing your voice into this, or you singing it into it.
So you can sing into AI, how it would work. So like I would say what I'm doing here, and I could sing a component of the song, and I've been practicing, which one I want to do, and then you voice sample a subsection of your voice, and then there's some process that I've figured out where you can then like feed your voice in and redo some of the lyrics, but still have the vibe of that song, so that it sounds like me singing, and I won't be able to hit those notes, but it's like super auto tune of that. But if I sing, so I could sing the entire song, and then say, make a song around what I just sung. And then it would adjust all the components. Or I could go sing a part of a song and say, here's a voice sample of my voice.
Right. Help
put it over these lyrics.
Yeah.
Or I could here's a sweet riff on my guitar, put lyrics over it. So you could do all these different ways of it. So we talk about democratization of like the literacy, democratization of our ability to be here and streaming. This is just like a democratization of like to get this music that I've had inside myself, and I'm like, this is here, and like this is the only way I can do it. I would never have been able to do this had I not had a tool to help.
Nice. No, that's great. I'll be interested. Just keep us updated, right? With where
I feel like I'm not going to release it on Double Drop Down, just to like distance ourselves from it a little bit. At this point,
it's like
I want to be doxxed on it, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's true, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have been playing it a bunch here and talking about it and doing things, so you're probably already doxing yourself a little, but
fair enough. Well, and the thing is, I'm being authentic. I'm not even like saying, oh, I sung that and I did that. I've engineered those. I've written lyrics on there. I've done those components. I've thought about those parts. So that's where it's at. So you hear it here, and that's and you got a little vibe. I'm not trying to make like a Grammy or whatever for
exactly.
it. So
sell a bunch of it and stuff, but. Yeah.
Great show tonight, Ryan.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the I was actually nervous. I got to be honest about having the discussion around it. So I'm glad
it's good. I'm glad we leaned into it, and I appreciate all the comments from the chat and everything too. Good
Absolutely.
ones.
And I'll try to figure out how to get this damn Xbox, but I think it was a good call. Like maybe it's some other controller that's like screwing over my shit.
That happens a lot in my house. I have so many Xbox controllers. I probably have 7 Xbox controllers in different states of working and not.
So I don't understand. Like I turned it on with this. Why would the other one conflict with that? I don't even get that.
And sometimes I will have it where say you have another controller and it's like shoved in a couch. And the thumbstick is pushed one way, that will affect how the controller that you're working on, like it will like mess with it and sort of force your thing like over to the side because the other one is doing it. So there must be some sort of conflict with like the signal that it's getting from them, because that'll happen and it'll be like, God damn it, somebody left a controller in the couch and I have to like dig it out of the couch and then it will work.
And it's not only like but it must be on too. How the hell does that happen?
Yeah,
so
I have no idea. Like I sat on it or maybe or something.
Turned it on. I don't know. Yeah. All right, until next time.
Good night, everyone.
We'll see ya. Peace out. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.